Are we live?
Think
Perfect.
so. Woohoo!
Awesome. Well, everybody, welcome back to the finale of the WyoHackathon, our third annual, right, Caitlin? This is kind of getting to be a thing, isn't it?
Yeah. We had 4,400 unique visitors for the bulk of the events, which were a few weeks ago, from 97 countries.
Yeah.
So we had that's more than 11 times the volume that came through last year. Now, of course, it's a different event, so because we're doing it virtual, so it's a lot easier for people who didn't have to travel to Wyoming. But I think next year we're gonna do a hybrid. So those of you who want to come to Wyoming and kick the tires, that'll be your excuse. It'll be probably the second or third weekend of September. So block that out on your calendars now if you want to travel to Wyoming. Otherwise, we'll want you on the remote link as well.
We're going to
So
actually
Tyler,
we're banning the remote link.
we're banning the remote link.
It's all in
Nah.
person now. No, I'm just teasing.
Well, we want everybody to come, but yeah, look, 97 countries, that's pretty darn good. We seriously had a worldwide reach.
Yeah.
And look, it's because of the efforts of you and the Wyoming legislature to build a welcoming and very clear legal and regulatory regime for digital assets here in Wyoming. That's gotten international acclaim, of course. And we just have, I'm sorry to use this word, but kick-ass group of judges and speakers. I mean, this was first rate, and it's not over yet. We've got another 3 hours of it today. And I talked to Brian Bishop yesterday, who's the Chief Technology Officer of Avanti and also a Bitcoin Core developer. And he said there were some good submissions from the competition. So we'll look forward to awarding those today.
Awesome. So you mentioned the Wyoming legislature, the amount of work they've done. Obviously, the legislature, all those guys are busy and chugging away in their campaigns right now. But we did manage to snag some time from one of our favorite in regards to blockchain technology and what we've been able to do in the Wyoming legislature. And that's Senator Chris Rothfuss. If we could have him pop up on the screen with us. Senator Chris Rothfuss is the chairman on the Senate side of the Wyoming Blockchain Select Committee. And he was supposed to be joined by his cohort, Representative Jared Olson, who is the chairman of the House side. Unfortunately, he didn't make it, but we've got Chris. Caitlin's a governor's appointee on that committee, and then I also serve on that committee. So, Senator Rothfuss, how's it going? What's going on? What's shaking out? How are we going to change the world today?
It's going great. Good morning, Tyler. Good morning, Caitlin. Appreciate having some time this morning, and we are going to change the world. We're going to keep changing the world and changing it for the better through this blockchain task force and now select committee. As both of you know, serving on the committee, we wanted to make sure that we didn't lose any of the momentum that we've gained in the last few years. So we're again tackling some real challenges that industry is particularly focused on. We're looking at digital identity, trying to become the first state in the country to really define and wrap our arms around digital identity, move that forward as a concept, and ensure that it's self-sovereign, that we're trying to protect individual privacy rights, individual rights to their data, that data ownership concept, and figure out how to get that right. Again, listening to the community, listening to stakeholders, and moving the ball forward. So anybody who's engaged in the hackathon that has a passion for digital identity, we hope to see you at our next select committee meeting, and the one after that. We've got one coming up at the beginning of November, and then we're going to be having another one in mid-December. We're also looking at decentralized autonomous organizations, DAOs. This is a passion, I think, for a lot of the folks in the blockchain and crypto communities. They'd like to see that corporate governance structure. So hopefully this time next year, we'll be able to say that we're the first state in the country that has recognition of decentralized autonomous organizations. And then obviously a lot of continued work on just digital asset governance, doing the right thing there, making sure that we're enabling instead of restricting that type of commerce. It's always been the theme, as you both know, that we want to put in place a governance structure that provides legitimacy and then kind of gets out of the way. And it's what we've done so far, and we hope to continue doing that.
I think that's great. Honestly, and it's part of the culture of what we've developed in the state of Wyoming in regards to this space is finding ways that we can get the hell out of your way and allow your business to flourish. And I did want to mention this, Chris, and it's something that we talk about often, but it's worth mentioning again, specifically in these times. We just had the last presidential debate the other day. Going into November 3rd, we're going to have the election. Obviously, there's a disagreement as far as who should be president, yada, yada, yada. The reality is, it doesn't matter. What matters is you got a place right here in Wyoming where Senator Chris Rothfuss is the minority floor leader in the Senate. That means he's a Democrat. And I'm a Republican, and the chairman out of the House is a Republican. And yet we can find these
you guys
ways
work together.
Yeah. Well, we don't have a choice. Nobody else understands what the hell we're talking about.
That is a key. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
No, but seriously, if you guys weren't working together, we wouldn't be where we are. And Senator Rothfuss, you've been with this whole blockchain initiative from the very beginning because you understand the technology, and that's of critical importance.
No, absolutely. And you know, I've enjoyed working with Tyler and with you, Caitlin, over the years. This is not a partisan issue. This is just trying to put together good governance. The more often we can get away from political parties and that type of partisan debate and start focusing on solutions, focusing on problem solving, focusing on issues that really help the people, not just of Wyoming, but of the country, I think the better off we're always going to be. So this is one of those topics, one of those focus areas where doesn't matter what your political persuasion is. You know, if you enjoy freedom, this is a pretty good thing to be supporting.
You betcha. And you know, we're pushing the envelope. We've got other states copying us across the board, including now with our special purpose depository institutions. I think 4 states have now introduced that legislation verbatim, trying to copy what we've done with the banks. So while the bankers are still attacking us, as they have all along, we're on the other side actually getting other states trying to copy us, and some banks actually coming forward and saying, we want to join this. So it's fun to have innovation. It is worth talking a little bit about DeFi, right? Because DeFi is such a hot topic in the digital asset space right now. And one of the issues is no one knows what the legal entity form is if there ever is going to be a dispute involving DeFi. And one of the things that Wyoming's trying to solve is how do we actually have some of this DeFi actually fit into the legal regime, making the technology backwards compatible with the legal regime so that when there are inevitably problems, as there already have been, but they haven't resulted in lawsuits yet, but there will be. We all know that, especially as more and more value comes into this and there's a lot more money at stake, there's gonna be litigation, and judges have no roadmap for figuring out what is this stuff. And we're trying to do that in Wyoming. So Senator Rothfuss, you're all over that.
No, absolutely. And I think it's essential really that you have a rule set and that courts understand how to treat assets and how to deal with corporations and the interaction between those corporations and the assets. And with DeFi, that's one of the problems that we have right now is courts aren't going to know what to do with it. And as a result, when you're trying to bring capital to a new industry sector, you can't really assess risk. And what we want to do is really put in place a framework that allows that risk to properly be managed. That can then recruit the capital and provide some confidence to industry. Again, we don't want to overregulate. We don't want to provide unnecessary restrictions. We just want to make sure that there's clarity in the statute and that there's a clear roadmap. So when you're looking at circumstances like the decentralized ownership of assets, and how do we look at concepts like limited risk and limited liability? How do we provide that interaction of what a traditional corporation is going to do, where you don't clearly have stakeholders in a traditional sense, and how do we draw those lines? So we're wrestling with that right now. That's one of the central points of legislation that we're working on, and we'll continue to work on that. But again, one of the keys that I think has really been essential to our success in recent years is that we're really open to these ideas. We know that we don't have all the solutions right now, and folks in this community have the ideas. They've been studying it. They've been considering it. They lie awake at night worrying about these types of things, and we invite them to send us an email. My cell phone's easy to find. My email address is easy to find. Wyoming's open for business, and we're very accessible. So DeFi is one of those topics that we have to tackle. We want to be the leader in that space, and we want other states to follow our model once we get it done.
Yeah, and I think it's important to underscore what Wyoming has done with one exception is enabling. So don't worry that we're gonna, we're the regulators coming after you. In fact, actually what we're trying to do is give you the choice, not the requirement, but the choice of setting up your DeFi organization in Wyoming in a way that doesn't make the organization deemed what's called a general partnership. In a general partnership, every one of the partners is jointly and severally liable for the whole thing. And so the concept of limited liability, which is the whole concept of a corporation or a limited liability company, which was invented in Wyoming in 1977. That's the whole concept here of let's allow you to innovate without having you all have unlimited joint and several liability for the whole project. And so if you choose to make it backwards compatible with the law, the idea is let's do it in an enabling way that actually solves a problem for you without actually putting on all these restrictions. I did say there's one exception to the laws that Wyoming has passed. All of them have been enabling except for one, which is the new bank charter, the special purpose depository institution. By definition, a bank charter has to be restrictive, not enabling. But I think it's really important because a lot of folks believe code is law, and I'm sympathetic to that. We want the innovation happening. If you choose to reduce your risk, though, we want you to have a place where you're welcome, and that's what Wyoming's trying to do.
Exactly.
All right,
and so as we're looking at that limited liability and having the state provide and grant that limited liability, we need to figure out kind of what that trade is in the general public interest. So we won't provide explicit restrictions, but we'll provide opportunity. We'll enable industry through a DAO flavored LLC effectively is our first approach. And, we should be releasing the first draft of that legislation over the next few days. So for the folks that are interested in that, get on to the wyoleg.gov website and give us your feedback because we'll be working on it for the next few months.
Really super appreciate Senator Rothfuss, Ms. Long. Thank you guys for participating in this and giving everybody kind of an update in regards to where we're headed and on a legislative front. Whoever thought that Bitcoin would have been such a big topic in regards to law, which by the way, Bitcoin is holding steady over 13 today. Today could be the day, folks. Hold on to that bull.
Love it.
So, yeah. All right, we're gonna go ahead and jump into, and we're running a little bit behind, so I'm gonna apologize to all of our guests. We like to talk, so that's our bad. We're gonna
You can't schedule 5 minutes for a legislative talk. I mean, that's just, it doesn't happen.
Not a politician. That's right. All right, we're gonna jump into the LawCon recap, and that is we're going to Mr. Benjamin George, I believe it is, or Ben and George, pardon me.
Hey everybody, thanks for having us this morning. On behalf of the University of Wyoming Foundation and the University of Wyoming College of Law, I wanted to thank Rich and everybody for an incredible program this year. I'm so happy that that the College of Law was involved this year and got engaged. I think if you had told me at the very beginning that that we would have had such an amazing Stampede Law Conference with so many amazing speakers on digital currency and the legalities of it from every aspect, including ethics, I would have told you were crazy. So kudos to everybody for getting us involved with that and getting the College of Law on board. And I really want to thank Professor George Moxley too for taking a lead role in involving the College of Law with that. I think this is an incredible and pivotal moment for digital currency law. It's amazing that Wyoming continues to lead the charge on digital currency law, on getting Bitcoin, I don't know, I guess putting it on the map, and as well as putting Wyoming on the map with it. And it's so cool to have the University of Wyoming College of Law involved with that, and the University of Wyoming Foundation as well. So it's been an incredible experience, and I cannot wait to see where this goes. And I would love to see more Wyoming lawyers getting involved with digital currency and blockchain law, and hopefully staying in Wyoming and expanding that. And turning it into something that really turns out to be an incredible industry for Wyoming. I think I was going to note too that we had the book winners, but I don't think that that's something, I don't know if that's something I should take up time. I got to make up time for the politicians here today, so I got to keep it moving. But I'll pass it off to George, and he can talk a little more. So thanks everybody.
You're muted, George.
I'm muted. You know, I don't know how many times I've told my students, you're muted, can you start over? And here you go. And now I'm doing it myself, right? Um, so, uh, you know, I want to echo what Ben and the rest of our colleagues here, and I sort of think of everyone here in Wyoming as a colleague, has said. I wanted to quickly go over what we did in LawCon, and you know, talk about the topics we've covered, for the non-lawyers who perhaps didn't attend LawCon because, you know, they couldn't get CLEs for it, and, you know, why listen to a bunch of lawyers speak. But before that, say that, you know, this is a set of topics that we covered this year, but we're you know, as our two politician friends said, you know, we're always open to suggestions, and, you know, this is a set of topics we did this year, but next year, you know, we might be covering decentralized autonomous organizations, right, and a special version of the LLC that we're hoping to create for that. And when there are a whole bunch of people working on that and making that happen. So we welcome your feedback, and I think anyone who's on this call, you can send an email to or give a call to. Most of us you can find relatively easily online. Some of us you can't. You know, their email addresses for the Stampede and the LawCon and so on. So please don't be strangers, right? We're a very welcoming state and a very welcoming group of people. So just to kind of recap LawCon, we had 314 people registered to listen, which is kind of remarkable considering that only 40 people applied for CLE credit, right? So of the 314, somewhere around 40 were probably lawyers, and the rest were just people interested in learning the law, right, and being involved in what we're doing here in Wyoming. We had 9 hours of instruction. 6 of those were general CLE credits, and 3 of them were for ethics. Those of you who are lawyers know how important it is to get those ethics CLE credits. The topics that we covered were just an introduction to business entity types and how you form them, how the securities laws come into the blockchain area, right? It's easy to get caught up in the securities laws at the federal level, so it's important to know when you want to, when you don't, and so on. Security tokens and SAFT, you know, what those look like and where it looks like those are going. Trends in blockchain legislation, some of which we've heard about here today, and hopefully you'll be hearing about as all of us on, you know, over here in Wyoming move forward to making and enabling, you know, blockchain business really, and helping setting up the law so that enables these kinds of things. We talked about the Wyoming SPIDI, the Special Purpose Depository Institution, governance and crypto systems, legal ethics, right? Digital assets and money laundering, and you know, where to be careful and whatnot. And just a general ethics class for blockchain lawyers. So I believe all of these are available online if you're interested in looking at them. Please inform yourselves and you know, keep following what we're doing here in Wyoming. And again, you know, don't be strangers. Reach out and let us know what you want to hear about next year, because, you know, that's why we're here. We want to build this field out for all of you.
Right. Really appreciate you guys and all that you guys have done. And it's important to note that those CLEs are still online, and they will be online for anyone who still wants to do them. It's kind of cool. I never thought I'd have actual attorneys that are educators talking about my laws in a kind of a good manner versus I always kind of thought I'd have people just cursing my name. Well, the bankers are, but that's neither here nor there. All right, we're gonna go to DevCom. I believe actually we've got I'm sorry, BizCon recap that we're gonna do, and that's Corey is on here, Mr. Corey Billington, and I don't see Steve, so we're gonna have to skip him.
Okay, well, I'll be brief. I was very pleased with the BizCon. As a guy that teaches entrepreneurship, I thought it was fantastic. I've already used some of the elements of what was being shared in the at the event. I suppose I should say that the talk I liked most was the one with Tyler, because when he puts on his hat, it's beef chain. But we had over 100 speakers. We were global. We brought in 16 speakers from Europe through a partnership with EM Lyon, and so we got it deep into everything from automotive to the differences in French law, diplomas, and so forth. We had 100 speakers in the U.S. and everything from authenticating products, food safety. But the key is the number of new business models and the amount of entrepreneurship that this is going to spark is astounding. And so this is the connections have been extremely valuable as well. I have one of my entrepreneurship classes working to support the business launch of a blockchain company now. And this wouldn't have been possible without this event. So the sheer magnitude is what was hard to get around it. I had to do, an all-nighter and then spend a whole day, and I could only get maybe a quarter of the material. But it's terrific. I guess the one thing that, if I had to pick one, besides the beef chain, which is, changing, and I mean, in a reality, changing the world to allow ranchers to actually make money by changing the business model in beef. And this is not a joke. I'm not being representative about this. This is a true possibility based on this technology. My other favorite was with the University of Wyoming around authenticating products and near field control. It's a project with IOHK and the University of Wyoming, Phil Schlump. And the possibilities for supply chain control, channel management, because there's often problems with products being sold by people that shouldn't be even possessing these products. So I'd encourage you to do what I'm doing with my students, which is look through the different types of business models, particularly the ones that affect your industry. Come up with an informed point of view of how your industry is going to change, and then manage your affairs in that way. Everything from how you evolve your business, whatever it is, because blockchain is going to change your world. It's just a matter of when, not if. So anyway, I'll leave it there, because there's so much detail that it's not appropriate to get in just a few minutes. But it was, I think, enormously successful from the perspective of an entrepreneur and a person that teaches entrepreneurship. So, thanks for everybody's energy. It was the friendships that I made, I appreciate as well. So, particularly, Chris, Tyler, Steve, everybody. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Corey. Really appreciate you, sir. For those of you that don't know Mr. Billington, he's kind of a legend when it comes to entrepreneurship. It's not something he just teaches. The University of Wyoming was able to rope him in because he had a successful career, and the guy's a hand and an actual mentor to a lot of us, including myself and Beef Chain. Nobody ever tells you in school that it's damn hard to start a company. Nobody says that. But it is. It's really super hard. And so, having people like Corey Billington around, which you can only find him in Wyoming, folks, is really a huge asset to the state of Wyoming and to this industry. That's this burgeoning industry. Remember, guys, Satoshi, we're 11 years down the road, and we're still at 2.5% adoption. So it's going to take a while on a lot of this stuff. So really appreciate you, Corey. Thank you much, sir. We're going to jump into the recap of the Sandcastle right now. And the reason why we're doing that, guys, we're going to do the DevCon recap here in a little bit. Hopefully those speakers will jump on. So Phil Schlump or Jim Caldwell, if you're listening in, you're supposed to be in the Zoom meeting right now. But either way, we're going to welcome in my friend, Mr. Chris Snook, Chris Snook is a guy that jumped in the middle of Wyoming and helped us make a big splash. And another guy that we owe so much to. And I'm really excited that Chris is here and joining us and going to recap the Sandcastle Challenge. Go ahead, Mr. Snook.
Yeah, thanks, buddy, and always a pleasure. And I get more excited every time we do one of these recaps because I get the chance to actually pull out of the weeds and all the thrust of the last 6 months, and then realize we actually did some cool stuff again this year. So it's always fun for your recaps and to everybody else. I mean, I just get more excited and more inspired of the ecosystem that we're all developing every time I just kind of get a chance to actually listen and think about it. So. Yeah, Sandcastle was great. Again, we had 6 phenomenal teams. We had probably some of the toughest competition we've had in the last 3 years we've been doing this. For those who didn't know, I mean, we originally did the World Finals for this back in 2018 down in Grand Cayman, and then through Rich Kopcho and all the activity that was happening in Wyoming, we created the hub for the pathway to our big show in 2022 now post COVID in Dubai, out of Wyoming, and so we're happy to be hub there since last year. And this year we had an upset. We had phenomenal teams, but Streambed Media took the title slot, and congrats to Jenna Pilgrim and all those folks for shocking me, shocking the world, and it just shows the merit of, when you have 6 great businesses, which is what we had this year, but when you put them in a structure where they have to in 5 minutes or in 3 minutes demonstrate their value, anything's possible. And how we communicate what we're doing is often as important as what we're actually doing, and both go hand in hand. But second place went to True Reply out of New York, so Streambed took first. Second place went to True Reply, and then Belgium actually represented with Engrave, who was my dark horse. I actually thought Engrave was going to be the team to beat, and they ended up coming in third, and Vinter Capital was fourth, and so we had Elevated Games, and we had EST Global rounding us out. But this year we were able to have representation from the EU out of Stockholm, out of Brussels. And then also, depending on which office you want to look at, EST Global out of India, out of MIT. It's just tremendous the amount of quality technology and diversity of technology that's descending on Wyoming, and looking at it as its North American hub for where they want to incorporate and compete and do those things. So it was a great year, and thanks mostly to our partners who we couldn't give out the prize money without, which is Blue Ocean Digital Management, who's committed for 4 years, a venture fund with roughly $50 million under management, and fresh capital to write follow-on checks, and so we wouldn't be out here without Martin and Will, and also Wyoming Business Council. Sarah did a great job at halftime, kind of really talking about how they play a strategic role in both attraction and retention and enablement, and again they supported the challenge with a grant as well. So University of Wyoming, everybody, it was awesome. Thanks.
Awesome. Chris, once again, you're a legend, sir. Super appreciate you and everything that you've brought to the state of Wyoming to help bring the hackathon to the next level. And big shout out to Blue Ocean. I mean, those guys came out of nowhere and just dived headfirst right in. They're part of the Wyoming Hackathon for the next 4 years now. And it's those kinds of sponsors that just jump in and blow me away. So super appreciate you, Chris. Chris is one of those guys that just jumped in out of nowhere and blew us all away. And so we can't say enough good about Mr. Chris Snook. He's a legend. Now, guys, I get the opportunity to talk about somebody new to the state of Wyoming that recently took over the University of Wyoming, and in my opinion, took it over by storm. And here's why I'm super pumped about President Ed Seidel. President Ed Seidel, he's a computer guy. He's one of us. He's a techie. And he's pumped about what's going on with the Wyoming Hackathon. He made sure that it was a high level of importance for the university this year. And we have this commitment going forward. This is not going to slow down. This is not going to stop, especially with President Ed Seidel having the reins. So with that, President, please give us a quantum recap.
Thanks, Tyler. Thanks. Just good to see you all. I'm getting to know you, and I'm very excited by what I see here. I was I really didn't know that this is happening in Wyoming. And so this is the kind of thing I was hoping to maybe get started if it wasn't. And now that I see that it's really going, I hope to do everything I can to energize it. And so it's true that I am a computing guy. I maybe, in case all of you don't know, one thing I did in my career was starting about 6-7 years ago, I was the director of the National Center for Supercomputing Applications at the University of Illinois. So it just gives you a sense of the kinds of things I've done and why I'm so excited by this. So I came here as the president, having also been a VP for economic development, also at the University of Illinois for about 4 years. And I spent a lot of time thinking about how universities can work together to address the economic needs of the state and the region. And in particular, I helped develop a project in Chicago called the Discovery Partners Institute that brings together partners like from as diverse as Argonne National Lab to Chicago State University, University of Chicago, University of Illinois, and so on, to bring together all of the tech talent and talent across the universities, not just in computing but even as far as the arts and humanities, which is very important as well. And so I'm very interested in doing what I can here in the state of Wyoming to do something along those lines. So when I found out what was happening with the Wyoming Hackathon, I was just blown away by it. And thanks to all of the efforts that you guys have been undertaking for some years, I got to know a number of you and have been following up with a lot of energy in the last month. So I've had a conversation with Dario Gill, who is joining us by Zoom already, and we've got another one planned to talk about how we might collaborate in everything from artificial intelligence to quantum information science. And there's a very strong group, particularly in quantum materials at the university within the physics department here. So we're talking about ways to help strengthen that. I'm very interested in developing a school of computing at the university that would be a cross-disciplinary program. I've been talking to some of the faculty and the deans and the VPs about this and some of the community members. Of course, we are in the middle of cutting budgets by a serious amount. And so this is going to slow us down. But I just want to say my eye is on the ball for the long term. And so regardless of the fact that we're cutting $42 million out of the state budget right now in the biennium, that's gonna hurt, but we are keeping our eye on the ball for the long term. So perhaps with some help from the private sector and the corporate sector and some state support, ultimately we can do something like this. But what I mean by a school of computing would be something like what you might see at UT Austin or at Georgia Tech or at University of Utah and a number of others, where you would have, let's say, perhaps a couple of dozen faculty working collaboratively across many disciplines, and to have a corporate partnership program, and specifically to partner with the growing entrepreneurship program at the university, and then to couple that with hubs of innovation that we would try to develop across the state, particularly around the community colleges. So this would involve a very strong partnership with the community colleges. And I've been talking with the presidents of all the community colleges, and there's a lot of interest in this. So this is just very early on, but the point is, I just want to say that I'm thinking a lot about the potential and trying to organize the partners so we can figure out good ways to go forward with this. So in particular, I've been thinking a lot about the Laramie Cheyenne Tech Hub that is sort of, I see emerging. The only thing we need right now, I think, that to really continue this out, aside from some perhaps better publicity about what we're doing, I'd love to see the bike path from Pilot Hill down through Laramie, out through Centennial, and then up to Lake Owen, and then down to Colorado. You have this amazing area with national forests and so on, the kind of thing that would attract exactly the sorts of community members that we're talking about. So I've been thinking about everything comprehensively, from hubs of innovation, entrepreneurship, computing, the venture capital that's needed, and the kind of environment that we have here in Wyoming that's just so spectacular that would attract people. So I don't know if there's anything more to say. There's actually one more thing I could say about it. I've had a very interesting invitation from the leadership of some of the national labs, Argonne, Oak Ridge, and Brookhaven National Labs and their associated universities, to partner with us on a proposal for an NSF Center for Artificial Intelligence and its applications, using the kind of the wonderful environment that we have, environmental science around Wyoming, as a kind of a driver for this. So we're currently pulling together some partners to see if we could put in a competitive proposal to NSF for this. Even if we don't get it, which of course is the likelihood, these are very competitive, we develop momentum towards organizing ourselves for the future. So maybe that's just a good snapshot of what we're doing. But I'll be back next year and everywhere in between, and I hope to be visiting with you to figure out how we can energize all these ideas.
President, I really super appreciate your efforts and staying engaged. It's exciting times. I know that the budget crunch is tough right now, but we're going to get through. We're Wyoming, you know, and so we're going to have some folks step up. I have a good feeling about that. Anyway, super appreciate you, sir. We're going to move on now to our Wyoming Hackathon Executive Director, the man, the myth, the legend, Rich Kopko, who keeps it all put together for us in the background. I mean, he's constantly, even right now, he's sending me notes. He's like, you sound like an idiot. That's what he said. It was my last message. Tyler, you sound like an idiot. It's not nice. But either way, he's going to talk next, and he's going to be joined by Finley. Yeah, we're going to go to you guys.
I'm here.
Hello.
We're here. Are we here?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're here.
Now, Tyler, you know you can't be saying things like that that aren't true. Come on. That wasn't even nice. I'm over here sending you love notes. So what's going on with the WyoHackathon? What a crazy event we've got going on. We have 221 people that are in. That's like double what we had last year. We have 39 countries that have joined. Australia, of course, the United States, India, United Kingdom, Mexico, Nigeria, Spain, Ghana, Singapore, Kazakhstan, Canada, France, Taiwan, never even heard of, Peru, Brazil, Kenya, Hong Kong, Japan, Indonesia, Israel, Russia, Tunisia, South America, Europe, Estonia, Poland, Switzerland, Iran, Netherlands, Sweden, Serbia, Morocco, Bulgaria, Norway, Belgium, Cyprus, and believe it or not, the continent of Antarctica and Romania. Is that crazy? Wow.
Long list.
The things that's going on with WyoHackathon this year specifically that I wanted to highlight is, you know, this is an educational program. What we're trying to do is educate on computer science, and that's why Finley's here with us. Finley is a computer science major over at UW, and he competed in the War Snake, or the Battle Snake with War Snake, which if we can get that teed up, that video, I'd like to see that. And then in the Marlowe, what's best for Marlowe, right?
Yeah, Enhanced Actus and Marlowe challenge as well. Yep.
Yeah. So Finley, can you tell us, did you learn anything from the Battle Snake?
Yeah, I learned a ton. So I wrote my snake in Python, so I got the chance to brush up on my Python skills, and then I did all of my development and then deployments of the actual project with containers and Docker. And I also use Travis CI for automated continuous integration and continuous deployments to Amazon Web Services. So it was just a great experience. I got the chance to do some web server programming and then brush up on my DevOps skills too. It was a experience that I think is unique to a hackathon too. So it was really great that the WyoHackathon provided it to me, and super excited for next year.
Yeah. So the idea was Snake is a very popular game, and it takes a lot of skill at the lowest level to the highest level. There's opportunities for growth. So at the very lowest level, we had student, rookie, and then veteran, and you competed in the veteran.
That's right.
Why did you do that? I mean,
I was too brave. I was way too brave. Yeah.
So in the veteran, a lot of this thing can go on and on and on to using AI and machine learning and lots of skills that are way beyond most of our early students, like from the high schools and so forth. So the nice thing about this, the Battlesnake competition, is it gives this learning opportunity throughout. And I'd like to see us do some more of those next year. There's a whole bunch of different games we can use that are teaching computer science. So we'll do that. Can we see what a Battlesnake looks like? Can you turn that on? Okay, Finley, tell me what's going on there.
Yeah, you needed a video for my snake, so I put together a little movie trailer for it and tried to stay true to the name. So very intense, very powerful movie trailer. Yeah.
Explain to these guys what the snake is doing. And
Yeah,
what
so
it to do.
yeah, it's basically just a bunch of web servers talking to each other, and there's a game engine out there somewhere that's sending us the state of the board game, and then your snake's job is to react to that state and choose the best move. And so you can end up utilizing a lot of techniques from AI, like learning based on historical patterns, what the best move would be for that state. And then in my case, I used a common search algorithm that is used in artificial intelligence as well. So yeah, the snakes are basically just moving around trying to find food and outlast each other.
Okay, so that kind of highlights the real goal of the WyoHackathon, which is a learning opportunity where we can also create businesses. So later on, we're going to see all of the finalists and all the different kinds of business opportunities. So with all of that, we very much appreciate you, Finley, for joining us, and we'll move it back to you, Tyler.
Yeah, thanks,
Right.
Rich.
Super appreciate it. You guys, I mean, a lot of work in the background. It's always good to hear that folks are learning and developing their skills. For a little while there, I knew a little bit of HTML back in the day. I don't think that quite makes me a developer, but I'm working on it. It's going to happen. All right, guys, we're going to go to somebody I'm pretty excited about. I know all you guys are too. This is Scott Stornetta, right? I mean, this is the guy. He's like the father of blockchain technology. I mean, truly an amazing individual, and pretty pumped that he's gonna talk, and he's gonna give us his keynote on why most startups fail. So this is this is great for all of us. That if you ever had a dream of a business model and you're just gonna go out there and make it work, and then you find yourself 3 years later, after a federal lawsuit, wondering if you should. Oh, that's a beef chain story. Never mind. We're gonna go to Dr. Scott Stornetta. Really pumped to have you on here, sir.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here, and again, the reason that I'd like to talk about why most startups fail is that I'm an expert in failure. And also I wanted to give as uplifting a talk as I could. And so I thought talking about failure is just the way to pump entrepreneurs up and get them excited about taking on the challenges each day. Well, that's actually not true what I just said. In other words, I'd really like to talk about how to make startups succeed, how to achieve what it is that you hope for, but I need to get your attention first. And I need you to understand the harsh reality is that most startups do fail. And unless we understand why they fail, unless we properly diagnose the problem, then we're not going to find the right solution. And so I want to make it clear that this is not a cynical talk. This is a talk that I hope will you'll find ultimately encouraging, and it's shared experience. I think of you as fellow entrepreneurs. We're always trying to move on to our next big thing, and I just encourage you to continue the battle. So with that, let me just jump in. I appreciate the introduction that was given. I should also note that in addition to having done some of the early blockchain work in a galaxy far, far away, my day job currently is as a partner and chief scientist of a blockchain-focused venture capital firm. And so we're very much in the thick of today and finding successful teams of entrepreneurs that we can help take to the next level. So with that, I'll jump in. So there was a study done by somebody. There's a footnote here at the bottom you can follow. But analyzing why it is that startups fail. And it's a very long list of reasons. And yet, I'd like to make the argument that there's really only two reasons that startups fail. And it may be that this title that's taken from someone else's study is actually saying that very thing. If any of you have seen this t-shirt, there are blank types of people in the world, those who understand binary and those who don't. Then you can see that this is really just saying that there are two main reasons why startups fail. And those are the two things I'm going to talk about today. First, the idea that the product or the service is something that the market doesn't need. Now, if that seems harsh, then think about what it must have been like for these 101 founders of companies who, after giving it their all, had to close their doors, and 42% of them bitterly concluded, after all of their effort, putting it all on the line, that the product or service that was their dream was something the market didn't need. Okay? If you want to talk harsh, that's harsh. Okay? But here's the thing about that, and that is, it's not so much that the market doesn't have a need for the idea that you have in mind. It's that it is all but guaranteed that your original idea needs so much refinement and pivoting in order to become the right product that it's only if you stick to your initial idea that you really have a problem. If you're willing to start with your initial idea and then figure out where you need to take it in order to become that great product, then you can avoid the whole first problem. Okay? So this talk is in two parts. The first half, I'm going to talk about how to turn the product that you think the market needs into the product that the market needs. And then I'm going to take all of the 9 remaining reasons and fold them into a single reason. So let's first talk about product. I don't know if any of you recognize the figure in this picture, but I'm sure that the person that preceded me on this program, namely President Seidel of the University of Wyoming, would recognize him immediately, because President Seidel had, along with me, we both have our PhDs in physics, and this is one of the most iconic physics physicists of the 20th century. This is Richard Feynman. And he gave a talk that has become famous far beyond the realm of physics at the graduation ceremony one year at Caltech. And it was about what he called cargo cult science. Now, many of you probably don't recognize this picture, but this, without going too far into it, this is a group of peoples that were convinced that if they built airplanes and conning towers and headsets out of native wood materials, that it would bring a great deal of prosperity to them. In other words, they had a superficial understanding of what it really took to accomplish something. And Feynman uses this example to get to the heart of his point, which is the heart of the point I'd like to make to you about refining your product. And that is, his warning is this, and I know you're not supposed to read your slides, but in this case, I'm going to read it. The first principle is that you must not fool yourself, and you are the easiest person to fool. Okay? You're going through your life, you have some great idea one day, you think of a great product that you could build, and what you don't want to happen is for someone to tell you that that is the wrong product, because you feel like it will destroy your dreams. And so you find yourself protecting yourself about finding out about the very information that will in fact help your product transform into what it really could be. And so facing yourself in the mirror is really the start to building a great product or to evolving your great product. You do not want to be like this person on the right. Okay. You want to decide, where things are, what the reality is, and then begin to evolve your product in a direction that will lead ultimately to success. And how do you do that? Well, you start by realizing that technology is not the same as a product. We had done something that I thought was a terrific invention, a terrific innovation that was related to the core of the blockchain technology. And I thought if we simply took our technology and added a user's manual and decided on a price to sell it at, that would convert it into a product. But that's not how it works. The difference between technologies and products is that technologies are really cool. It's fun to work on them. They're really neat. They're exciting. Products, on the other hand, solve a problem, and not just any problem. They solve somebody else's problem. Your technology is exciting to you, okay? You need to evolve it into a product that is solving somebody else's problem. Let me go on about that with a couple of more examples. This is a classic, if you don't recognize the name Jeff Atwood, very successful serial entrepreneur, one of the founders of Stack Exchange. And he quotes an article that he came across where someone is looking at some refined software product and they say, boy, it sure looks like a lot of money. There must be some open source alternative. After all, how hard is it to build that particular thing? And that's this I could do that in a weekend. I could do that in a week. And it's probably true that you could build a reasonable facsimile of Twitter or Instagram or whatever blockchain app in a very short time, but that's not product. If you go on and read Jeff Atwood's story, he talks about the fact that every day that they had their product out there, they would monitor customer usage. And every day they would have a meeting of the team at the end of the day where they went over how the customers had used the product and what that meant about how they could refine the product or change a feature, add a feature, drop a feature. Okay? so that it came closer and closer to being what the customer actually needed. So yeah, you can build a prototype in a weekend or a week, but that's not a product. And becoming more customer oriented and listening to what they have to say is just crucial. Another way to look at it is to take a quote from Peter Drucker, who obviously is quite a legend when it comes to the organization of business. And you have to understand that marketing is not advertising. Marketing is listening long and well enough until you have built a product that sells itself. Okay? The aim of marketing is to make selling superfluous. It's that good. It's that good of a fit. It's just what the customer always wished they'd had. Another way to think about it is this, okay? Data trumps theory. Most of us are technically oriented and get into this space because we really like technology or math, or and we tend to think abstractly or theoretically. And the hard reality about becoming successful in a business venture is that the customer of average intelligence that is willing to pay money is more important than the founder of extraordinary intelligence who needs the money. Data trumps the theory. You should be talking to potential customers daily with the emphasis on the listening part. Let's try one more. Yeah. I want to tell you a story that I learned a hard lesson, and I hope it's useful to you, about this customer orientation. And that is, when I first had one of my startups, I was getting a lot of traction. A lot of people wanted to meet with me, and I was really excited about the technology, telling them all the good things about it and whatnot. And then got to a certain point in the conversation where they asked a particular technical question. And what I would do is I would go down that rabbit hole, in part to respond to their question, but quite frankly, in hindsight, in part just so they'd know how smart I was, that I could cover all the technical details. And the problem that occurred in those meetings is that as soon as I went down the technology rabbit hole, okay, the conversation about selling the product was over. And so I learned to do this instead. When someone would ask a technical question in a sales presentation, even though I knew the answer, I would say, that's a great question. I'll have my technology people get back to you on that. And then I'd go back to the discussion of the business value proposition. The other thing that you have to do, again, is a kind of reorientation of your own person. You have to learn to hide your ambitions for your product, which you think is so great, it's going to have broad application across a huge variety of fields, and instead hold that ambition in check and learn to solve whatever the small and modest problem is that the person across the table from you has in his business or her business. That requires major restraint of ego. All right, I think I'm about talked out of the first half of my talk, namely, technology is not product, and that's why most products or services that you originally have the idea for don't turn out to be the product that the market needs, and that you have to evolve and iterate and pivot to be successful. So let's talk about the other 9, which is, in my opinion, all contained under the same umbrella. And to illustrate that, I just want to tell you a story. It's an apocryphal story. It's what passes for a joke in my life, but as you'll see, when I get to the punchline, it's not all that funny. So that just helps you recalibrate what I think constitutes a joke. At any rate, there's this very successful CEO, and he's supposed to be on a radio talk show. And the problem is the CEO is famous not only for being a CEO, but also for not saying much at all. And that's obviously the death of a talk show if you can't get your guests to talk much. And so this radio host of the talk show says, trying to get him to speak, says, what makes a great CEO? And the CEO just pauses for a while. And of course, dead air time on the radio is death to shows. But finally, he says, good decisions. And then he just stops talking. And again, the radio host is just exasperated because his show is going down the tube. So tries to think of another question he can ask him. He says, so how do you make good decisions? And the CEO thinks for a minute and finally says, experience. And then won't say another word. So finally, last chance, the radio host asks him a third question. He says, so how do you get experience? He thinks about it. He says, bad decisions. And so, again, what makes for success in startups is someone that can make good decisions. How do you make good decisions? How do you learn that? You learn it from experience. And how do you get experience? You get experience by dealing with the consequences of the bad decisions that you make. And so, in a sense, lack of experience is really covers all of the remaining reasons on this chart. And so, in a vain attempt to try to give you a leg up to accelerate the kinds of mistakes you're likely to make, let me highlight 5 things that people just don't seem to get until they have a lot of experience. And let's hope that you can be the exception to the rule. First, it's important to learn that all money is not equal. If you're just starting up and you have a product concept or something, it may be that the first thing you think of is, I've got to raise money. I've got to convince someone else to give me money to fund my great idea. And what happens is that people conclude that they're in the raising money business rather than the solving customer problem business. It turns out that the best way to raise money is to not need it. Okay. And obviously that may seem like a paradox, but my point is, when you meet with investors, you should communicate to them that what you really spend most of your time on is meeting with customers and better understanding how to modify your product to meet their needs. That's the business that you're in. You are not in the fundraising business. It's just a necessary evil along the way towards satisfying customers and solving their problems. And the more that you can communicate to investors the success that you're having in your daily exchange with potential customers, meaning the less time you spend telling them how much money you need, the more likely you are to get money from an investor. Okay. This last comment here that talks about representative revenue is just to say that the most valuable money is the money, even in small quantities, that you can receive from a prospective customer, because it carries with it the information signal that says, I value this. This is important to me. And here's the proof. Here's the money I'm willing to give in exchange for the hope of giving that. All right, next thing that you could learn to save yourself a lot of misery, okay, is that when you have an early product or even a prototype or even a concept, okay, you need to learn to exchange value in every customer interaction. Now, maybe the first time you meet with a prospective customer, things are so early stage that there's no possible way you could even charge them $1 for what you have. But you can still charge them something. And by that, I mean, you need to ask them for something in exchange for what you're going to do for them. Too often, people in the early stages are so eager to have someone take them seriously that they're willing to do everything for free on their side and not ask for anything in exchange from the other side. Again, you're fooling yourself. With each successive improvement in your product or your concept or your prototype, learn to ask for something and hopefully gradually ask for more and more until you reach the point where you're actually starting to ask for money and then gradually increasing that price. The product's going to evolve, and so should what you ask for in exchange evolve. But never find yourself begging for a customer. Always insist that there's something, some kind of exchange in the interaction. So I think most people are aware that Benjamin Franklin was, obviously involved with the creating of the Constitution, the writing of the Declaration of Independence, and lots of activities in the United States of America. But few realize that the key role that he played in the Revolutionary War was acting as a diplomat in France on behalf of the United States. And Franklin was a geek. He was a technologist, okay? But he learned a lesson that was so important through his years of diplomacy that he boiled it down into this aphorism, okay? If you want to persuade someone of something, don't talk about why they should do it, why it's the right thing, why it's the obvious thing, why it's the logical thing. Talk about what's in it for them. And that's what led him to say, if you want to persuade, speak of interest, not reason. And again, those of us that are coming from technical backgrounds or academic backgrounds, we just think all we have to do is explain to people the logical reason why X should be Y, and that will take care of it. It's not the way that the rest of the world works. Speak of interest, not reason. Improve your BATNA. Many people are not familiar with this term, but you can look it up in Wikipedia and read about it. And it's an acronym, obviously, of the best alternative to a negotiated agreement. Here's the thing that happens as your startup gets going. You find that a particular external party is really on the critical path to your success. If they go through with this deal, you're going to succeed. And if they don't go through with the deal, you're going to fail. And so you end up focusing your attention on how to make them do what you want them to do. And unfortunately, that is not the way the world works. You've fallen victim to this notion that you have more control of your environment than you really do. And you've also fallen victim psychologically to assuming that this is the only way forward. You've come to depend on some external thing going your way. Chances are it won't happen, okay? And so what you have to do instead of hyper focusing on the one thing that has to happen, you have to assume that it won't happen and broaden your focus so that there are multiple ways that you could succeed. Okay? So that when you go into a negotiation with one party, you have a backup plan if it doesn't work out. And that is the meaning of BATNA, that you always have an alternative to what if this critical thing doesn't come through. Okay? That's the way to shift from a control mentality to an opportunity mentality. And it reminds me of something that Elon Musk, obviously one of the really one of the century's iconic entrepreneurs, talks about, and that is he tries to figure out some potential path to success, and then he's constantly broadening that path so that the unlikely just becomes improbable, and then becomes probable, and then becomes inevitable. He doesn't seek to control other people. He simply puts enough resources in a broad enough set of options that gradually one of them comes through, and the unlikely becomes inevitable. He works the odds rather than forcing the situation. So improve your BATNA. This is my last piece of advice about winning. There was a study done among early stage firms that were invested in by venture capital that concluded that the highest correlate of success is that the CEO of the company should have prior proven track record selling into the target market. Okay? That's sort of the steepest learning curve. And that's how you want to maximize your chance of success. Now, what if you're the CEO and you don't have prior success selling into the market? Well, I wouldn't fire myself, okay? But what I'd do is I'd try to find a kindly mentor. I call them an aunt or an uncle mentor. Someone that's got the experience that you lack, but has no ambition to take over your job as CEO, but can help accelerate you through that learning from bad decisions set of experiences. If you can find that kind of a person, someone that knows how to advise, that wants you to succeed, but is capable and committed to protecting you from the worst of your mistakes, that person is worth a lot. I don't know if they're worth their weight in Bitcoin, but they're worth a lot. Let me try to sum up what I've been trying to say. And that is, most startups fail. If you think about it, that suggests that your startup is likely to fail. And that's an unpleasant thought. But there are two things you can do to fight the odds. The first is to be willing to continue to refine your product until it turns from a technology that you think is cool via listening to potential customers into something that solves someone else's problem. Then the product will sell itself. And secondly, most startups fail even if they have the right product due to a lack of experience. Find some way, such as the 5 suggestions I've made, to accelerate that lack of experience, including bringing on someone as a mentor that you can trust and that can save you from your worst mistakes. I wish you all of the success in the world. I have been there, and it's hard, and you learn a lot along the way, but there's nothing like the feeling of finally winning over a customer or starting to get traction in a marketplace, to feel like you've really made a difference in the world. And I wish that with all my heart for each and every one of you. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Stornetta. Really appreciate you taking the time, not only to give this keynote, but also for your activity in regards to judging all of the different submissions. So super appreciate you, sir. And hopefully we can lure you back next year to the Wyoming Hackathon, hopefully in person. If that's the case, I'll buy you a steak. All right, I think we're ready to go next to Ms. Caitlin Long and Peter McCormick, who I think technically owes us a view of a tattoo. I mean, last time we talked, we sat down and had a talk. Caitlin, me, and Peter McCormick, and I can't remember who else was with us. Maybe it was Trace Mayer.
Yeah, it's Trace. Yeah.
Yeah. Peter McCormick said he was going to get a tattoo of the Wyoming bucking horse. So I'm ready to see the tattoo. I'm going to turn it over to Caitlin Long and Peter McCormick. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Tyler. Do we have Peter? I can't hear you, Peter. Let's see. I see you, but can't hear you. So I think our technology guys need to switch us over. Huh. Connectivity is a bummer. There we go. His mic was, Peter, I'm getting a notice that your mic was muted. There, oh, no, we're still not getting a signal. Oh no. All right, well, I can say, while you guys are working on that, Peter challenged me to get a tattoo of the bucking horse called Steamboat on my ankle. And I played a prank on him last year when he was actually in Wyoming personally, because Peter is a tattoo guy, and I was able to find a tattoo, there we go, of the bucking horse and put it on my ankle. And he very quickly knew that it was a fake. So, Peter, do we have you now? Yes, we can hear you. Awesome. All right. So next year, we hope you can actually make it in person. And we need to do two things. We probably need to go get those bucking horse tattoos. And then, and you wanted to have an opportunity to fire a firearm. And I can tell you, as a Wyoming girl, I know how to do that. I haven't been able to get a hunting permit because I hadn't lived in Wyoming long enough to get one. But by next year, I hope to have one. So maybe we can go hunting together, and Tyler can be our guide.
Well, I hope so. You know, I'm a big fan of Wyoming now from my visit, and I would love to have been there. I mean, unfortunately, America isn't letting anyone from the UK in that moment.
I know.
Weird situation, but you know, it is what it is. Right, let's get on with things. Caitlin, do you actually remember? Do you remember the first time we spoke?
Yes, a few times. We've spoken a few times.
Do you remember the first time? How long it's been?
I do not.
Yeah, so I checked. It's over 2 years ago.
Wow.
First time we spoke was over 2 years ago, and that interview we did really stuck with me, and I've thought back to it a lot over the last few years, especially this year. But it feels like everything you warned me about 2 years ago is now starting to happen. Everything is starting to unravel. Do you remember the things you were telling me 2 years ago?
Well, yeah, specifically I don't, but the general gist is that we were using up our balance sheet as a country, and frankly, in the developed world across the board, by just continuing to issue debt. And that debt can take multiple forms. It can be in the form of more debt from the central bank, i.e. money, or more debt from the governments, i.e. government, obligations, explicit or implicit through pensions and the like. And that the reason why we hadn't seen currency collapses yet is because we still had balance sheets that were really strong, that our parents and grandparents had bequeathed us, and we were using them up. And yeah, we've pushed pedal to the metal to accelerate that debt, especially as COVID arrived. The problem with having such a leveraged balance sheet, of course, is that you have less flexibility to deal with things like COVID. So yeah.
Well, so it always stuck with me, and I kept thinking, I kept referring to it in other interviews, and I'm not a macroeconomist, but I picked up a few bits from the likes of you and Travis Kling, and more recently Lynn Alden, and What was
Yeah.
really interesting, when we got back together last time we spoke, it was post-COVID. And a lot of people may have thought that COVID would have been something that caused like this financial apocalypse, but you referred to it as really the pin that accelerated things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how do you feel about everything now? We've been through that first, obviously, significant stimulus package in the US. It's very challenging times where I think, you know, in fairness to Donald Trump, he has to make a decision between trying to keep the economy going whilst you know, trying to protect people from the virus. How do you feel about things right now?
Well, I think what the market was telling us back in April is that we were headed, March, April, is that we were headed for a financial meltdown at that point in time. And what we didn't know was whether the central banks were going to be able to rev it back up again. And the answer is they were able to. So what that does tell us is that the balance sheet, the amount of true equity in the economy that's left to be able to support new issuance of new debt, we still had balance sheet left. The hard part is you can't really measure that. You don't really know where that end point is, where you know, all that built up equity, that's what I mean by balance sheet, all that unencumbered assets. What is equity? Equity is your assets minus your liabilities. So if you have equity, it means that you have assets that haven't been encumbered by liabilities yet. And I'm talking about this at a very high level, that across all economies, what you can do is look at the assets of the economy in that currency against the liabilities of the economy in that currency. So while the liabilities may not be directly tied to an asset, they are indirectly tied, because the value of the currency is implicitly supported by the fact that there are still unencumbered assets left in that economy. And what we know is that the Fed was able to rev up, and all the other central banks were able to rev up again. So what that tells us is we still had some equity left, but every time we do this, we're using up more and more, and we don't know how close we are to the end. But your point is well taken, that it's, you know, we're getting closer. That we can confidently say.
Yeah, well, in fairness to you, I think you said to me is that this thing is going to explode at some point. We're going to have a financial meltdown. The tough thing is you can't predict when it will be. It might be in a year, it might be in a decade, but it's coming. I recently did an interview with Lynn Alden, and she referred to me to the debt to GDP ratio. And she said that 130% is essentially the event horizon. At that point, there's no coming back. And her point was that only 51 of the last 52 countries have reached that point. They've all had a currency devaluation.
Yeah.
And the only one that didn't was Japan, which has its own kind of weird set of circumstances. So with Jerome Powell obviously talking about inflation, how do you think this is going to play out over the next, firstly, let's talk about the next year, because we have an election, and then the kind of next 10-year period. And what are the things that people should be looking out for?
Well, one of the things I assume, you know, you're not dealing with the U.S. Election being shoved at you by the media every day because you're not in the U.S. But you are. Okay, well,
yeah.
What you learn is that that the debate is not over whether this is mentioned at all. I think I saw Russ Okung sent a tweet out noting that the word deficit was not even mentioned in the last presidential debate. Nobody's talking about it. So they're all the debate between the Republicans and Democrats right now is how fast do we put our foot on the gas pedal with respect to more debt and more stimulus. And no one's saying, wait a minute, there's ultimately a bill that's going to have to get paid by our kids and grandkids for this. We just don't know how fast. And so it's fascinating to me that just, you know, no one is actually out there saying, hey, maybe we shouldn't do this. But I think even all but the purists would say that an environment like this, where you've actually had this shock to an economy, you know, this is what Keynes actually originally envisioned, is that you use stimulus when you have a true shock to the economy. What evolved is a bastardization of Keynes's views, which is that essentially you should never have a recession at all. He never said that, but that is how most of the economics world is now viewing things, that we just never have a recession. And as a result, we just have, you know, zombies out there that are constantly being propped up by cheaper and cheaper and cheaper money. And it's to use Nassim Taleb's analogy, which is unfortunately hitting really true right now in the West, about forest fires, conflagrations. They turn into much bigger fires than they would have been if you just allowed, small fires to burn. But we've had a don't let it burn policy effectively. Don't cut down all the dead trees. Don't clean out the underbrush. And look what's happened with the fires. We had one during the beginning of WyoHackathon. The sky was orange that day. And a lot of folks who were in town in Laramie for it were wondering, is it even safe to breathe? Because there was so much particulate matter in the air. So it just goes to show you, when you just let things get tightly wound, the magnitude of the correction is even greater than it otherwise would be. And Tyler was great at explaining to me that's not healthy. Forests are supposed to burn, but and in some cases the pine cones, until they hit a particular temperature, don't even drop their seeds. And so forest fires are definitely part of nature. That's exactly right. But what isn't part of nature is how hot these conflagrations burn, because they actually kill the bacteria in the soil. And it takes that much longer for them to regenerate. And that is such a great analogy for what's happening in the economy. We're just, we're basically postponing even the small forest fires, and using economics, fiscal and monetary policy to do it. But eventually that means when the real one gets going, it's going to burn a lot hotter and cause a lot more damage than it otherwise would have. It's a great analogy.
You referred me to a book before. I can't remember who wrote it. When currencies collapse.
When money dies. Yeah, Andrew Ferguson, a British historian. And what's interesting is he's a historian, so he's not an economist, which means you take all the politics out of it. It was a great book. Yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, I maybe I'm naive, Caitlin, but I don't imagine the US dollar dying. But I can see a scenario of kind of scary levels of inflation. But am I naive here? Like, could the US dollar collapse? Could it die?
Well, look, if you look at the history of reserve currencies, every one of them failed eventually. And actually, the only money that never really failed is gold. But it stopped being used as money. So some would probably say that it did fail because it wasn't the base money anymore. And but yeah, if you look at reserve currencies historically, there is eventually a 100% failure rate. What I think is really interesting to bring crypto into this is that to the extent that you actually have effectively, you start putting the US dollar on a blockchain. Now, whether that's private versions, we already have them with stable coins, we're about to have them with a bank issued product, or whether it's a central bank issued digital currency. What that does, I think Nick Carter is right in saying that actually extends the US dollar's usefulness as a reserve currency, because you're using technology to extend its life. And a perfect analogy for that is Tether. There was a point where it was widely acknowledged that Tether was not 100% backed by US dollar cash on deposits at a bank. They even admitted it and changed their terms of service that it might be backed by an IOU from Bitfinex in part. And we saw the value dip a little bit, but then it came right back up. And I think the reason why it came right back up is because Tether is literally a hot potato. The velocity of Tether right now is something like 64 times. The velocity of the US dollar, as measured by the M1 velocity, is 3.8 times last time I looked. So Tether just trades a lot more frequently, which means people don't hold on to it. And if all you're trying to do is just settle a payment and use that as your intermediary currency, then, if you're in and out of it really, really fast, you've got less counterparty risk. And so what the market is telling us is that the technology really does matter, and that the balance sheet matters less as long as you can settle your payment really, 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 really fast. And so I think Nick is right that when you start seeing a US dollar issued on these new technologies, that it actually will extend the dollar's dominance as a world reserve currency. And also, very importantly, Niall Ferguson, a fellow Brit, it makes the point that this is a national security issue. that there will be in the next decade a clear winner in payment technology. The US is very far behind on this. And you know, I'm living it, building a bank and building the connectivity into the existing payment system. Most of the banks in the United States don't even offer APIs. That's not true in Europe. Very far ahead of the US in terms of payment technologies. And it's a perfect example of where, you know, of effective monopolies cause the technology to atrophy. And that's not the case in all of Europe, and especially in the UK, where there's just been huge advances. And so what Niall Ferguson was laying out is that to the extent that China really does have much better payment technology, if it turns out that these balance sheets don't really matter because the payment technology settles so fast and it's a hot potato and you're in and out of it within minutes, then, you know, maybe the technology is what's more important than the balance sheet. I think that's the tension that we're going to be watching with respect to the US dollar as reserve currency. And I must say, you know, while the US is behind, and certainly there's a lot of antiquated technology in the banking system. We all know in the US, you know, ACH takes a couple of days sometimes to settle. The payments can be reversed, and so there's not settlement finality for 60 days. You know, there's just a lot of problems associated with it. And I think we're going to see that get fixed. And I've been pleasantly surprised by the openness of the regulators to having private sector innovation in payment technology. So stay tuned.
Well, that's the other interesting side of this. Whilst it's been a very strange year and lots of weird things going on, you know, especially in the US, but you know, various places. While I was out in Santiago, Chile, I've been observing what's going on in Iraq and Belarus. Like Hong Kong, there's so many weird things going on at the moment. Conversely, we've all known for some time that we have this lifeboat with Bitcoin, and as everything seems to get a little bit more crazy, the Bitcoin stuff seems to get a little bit more interesting. Not just the price. I mean, the price itself is fascinating to follow, but just seeing what's happening in Wyoming, you know, the work you're doing, the work the Kraken's doing, it's starting to feel more real now. It's starting to feel like, rather than just being this like naughty little technology that the rebels use, that it's actually part of the primary infrastructure.
Oh yeah, it is. And again, hats off to the Wyoming legislature, the governor of Wyoming, the Wyoming Division of Banking, just really seeing the future and seeing where the puck is going to be as opposed to where it is today, and being way out ahead on some of the stuff we're doing. We are so far ahead that most folks don't even recognize the value of it yet, but they will. It's starting to come around. And yeah, what you're seeing in the US, I think, is also really interesting. There's always been a fear, as you know, with Bitcoin, that the government's just going to ban it, right? Plan B once a quarter puts his little Twitter survey out. What is the biggest issue facing Bitcoin? Literally, I think every quarter it's been the government's going to ban it. And what we just saw in the last week is the CFTC in the US, which is the commodities regulator, as well as FinCEN and, very importantly, the Federal Reserve yesterday. FinCEN and the Federal Reserve together. I think this is the first time the Federal Reserve has actually put out a formal rule relating to crypto. That's significant. I think not a lot of people notice that, but it is significant because FinCEN and the Fed did it together. But the Fed just did something formal yesterday. What do you think that tells you about whether the regulators are going to ban Bitcoin? If they're spending all this time trying to figure out a way how to define a compliant way for US financial institutions to transact in it, what do you think the chance is that they're going to turn around and ban it? I've thought for years now it's zero. It was effectively zero beginning like 2014. It would have been virtually impossible for the US to ban it back then, but the network effects were smaller back then. And so maybe you could have had a 51% attack where governments just bought up all the ASIC chips and banned it back then. But now, I don't even think, you know, the largest countries in the world, if they banned together, could affect a 51% attack. There's just too much network effect. It's too decentralized. And so what's happening, very importantly, is we're well beyond that narrative. The world doesn't realize it yet, but we are. And we're starting now to see the regulators define how can mainstream financial institutions transact with it and interact with it. And it's just going to take off from there. All that said, the libertarians, the privacy purists, I think left Bitcoin a few years ago once they realized that all of the, chain surveillance firms, et cetera, made it such that it wasn't possible to be truly private. You can be anonymous, but not truly private, because transactions can be tracked, and ultimately you can trace back to an IP address. And so that is the trade-off: is that the privacy and sort of mainstream acceptability, there is an inherent conflict there.
Yeah, you get digital gold, you might not get completely private transactions. I know some people want it and they're encouraging it, and there's the potential discussion for that with Bitcoin, but that's too big a topic to unwrap right now.
Yes.
What is it? I'd like, I've fallen in love with Wyoming. I really can't wait to get back. I actually think I could live there. But awesome. What is it about Wyoming? Why do they get it so different? What is it about Wyoming? How do people understand? Like someone like me, tell me what is different about Wyoming.
Yeah, there's a history of literally fighting a war over the clarity of property rights. I think that's the most important thing. And as a result, we hold property rights dear. What I'm referring to is the Johnson County Cattle War, where there was a war fought in the 1890s regarding whether property owners could fence out trespassers. And the property owners won. Yes, you can fence out trespassers. This was the fencing of the West. It was de facto a civil war in the United States, and it was fought in Wyoming. And so, you know what, we want to be able to clearly define our property rights. There's a real philosophy related to that, and there's another real philosophy that's important, which is privacy. Wyoming doesn't have an income tax, and Wyoming also doesn't require you to disclose to the government when you set up a limited liability company, which, by the way, was invented in Wyoming. That's another important streak. We like to invent stuff here. We were the first state to give women the right to vote 50 years before the rest of the United States did. So we tend to be ahead of the curve on this stuff, and then other states could catch up to us. But anyway, with the LLC registration in Wyoming, you are not required to disclose to the state who you are. You can do it through a lawyer anonymously. They have to know who you are. So if there's ever a subpoena, they have to comply, but it just doesn't happen that often. So, and the legislature, Tyler Lindholm, I've got to give credit. He was the ringleader of this and built an incredible coalition in the legislature who was supported by the governor. And at one point, there was a big move a few years ago in Wyoming to require the state to collect beneficial owner information for limited liability companies. And the legislature looked at it and voted it down overwhelmingly, I think even by a veto-proof majority. We like our privacy rights, and we like our property rights, and we like our privacy here. And that just fits really well culturally with Bitcoin.
So would you say Wyoming is as close to culturally as close to the history books of America, like the traditional America that I've read about that you have? Because this is so different from what happened, say, in New York.
Yes. Yeah, it is. I think it is. There's just a rugged individualism here. And if you look at the history of America, it was designed where we recognize natural law, that you are who you are because of who you are, not because the government says that you are who you are. Your identity is not defined by your driver's license or your passport. Your identity is defined in natural law, and that comes first. And then once we start layering government on top, the state is the sovereign unit. A lot of people forget that the United States is not the federal government. We've had a lot of creeping of through the Commerce Clause over the last century, where a lot of folks think that the federal government is the primary unit in the United States, but absolutely not. The states are, and that's why for Wyoming to jump out ahead, we've gotten so much more done here than the federal government has gotten done. We can move faster. We're nimble. We're hungry. We want economic development. Technology is a perfect way for Wyoming to build economic development. We don't have true metropolitan cities in Wyoming. And so we've kind of lost out on this whole trend in the last few decades towards people moving to cities. But now I would argue people are moving back. We're seeing it. Yeah.
I mean,
and
London's a ghost town right now. Yeah, London's a ghost town right now.
Yep.
Yeah, and people I've spoken to, I bumped into somebody I used to work with at the gym 2 days ago, and she said they've disbanded their office. They're not going to have it back. Everyone's working remotely. I mean, it's terrible for some of the businesses in central London, but I think this is one of the good things that's come out of COVID, that people have realized they don't need to be in a city, they don't need to commute, they can be with their families a lot more. So it's Wyoming becoming the Bitcoin citadel.
It is. There are so many people who've set up businesses here. There's some really cool stuff going on in the mining area. A really cool business that where a software engineer built a toggle to use his processing power wherever he gets paid the most, including in 5G. So now he's kind of integrating, crypto mining in with 5G, and wherever he gets paid the most, his system just automatically, sells the processing power. And we've got a lot of advantages in that regard as well, but because we're on the internet backbone in one part of Wyoming with relatively cheap power. But more broadly, yeah, there are a lot of companies coming in, a lot of assets moving into the state. It's kind of like a switch finally flipped. And I don't want to out some of the people, I'll let them out themselves, but there have been some very, very famous people in the crypto space who have moved to Wyoming, and including a crypto hedge fund manager who's very well known, moved his office here into Cheyenne, not to Jackson. A lot of folks would understand Jackson because the jet set tends to live in Jackson, but for residence purposes, because there's no tax here. But it's happening in southeastern Wyoming too. We're so close to Denver, and so not a lot of people are flying right now, but I think we all recognize that we will start flying again, and we will start getting together again. It may take a year, but we will. And so yeah, buying ranches, putting roots here, planting flags here. You bet, it's happening.
Wow. So has it got the nickname yet? Is it Bitcoin Valley? Is it Crypto Valley?
I don't know. Good question. I haven't heard a nickname. Maybe that's what one of our next year competitions can be. What are we naming Wyoming? Is it Crypto Valley?
Bitcoin Valley. Yeah. So I need to figure out how I can get residency. I wonder if Tyler can help me out with that, and I can move my business out into Wyoming and get myself a cowboy hat. Well, listen, look, we've got a couple of minutes to go, Caitlin. It's obviously very exciting. It's really exciting. And I'm excited by this idea that you think the regulatory issue is gone. I did just want just a bit of a curveball final question, because I mentioned to you before we spoke, but I'm very interested in these treasuries moving into Bitcoin. You've got some thoughts on it. What do you think about it?
Well, we've got to solve a big problem, which is the gap accounting problem. And I think crypto Twitter is a little ahead of itself because most businesses are not going to do what MicroStrategy did, which is go all in on their corporate cash, because Bitcoin has really adverse accounting. I'm pretty sure this is true under international accounting standards, but it's definitely true under US accounting standards, that you get the lower of cost or market. And so you're constantly, if the price of Bitcoin goes down, which we know it goes in cycles and it will again go down, don't know whether it's going to be from this level again, but it does go down, it's volatile. And so every time it goes down, the company has to do what's called impairment testing and may have to take a charge through their income statement. Now, for businesses that don't really care about the predictability of their net income, they don't really care. And maybe MicroStrategy's in that space. I think this is one of the reasons why Square only put 2% of its corporate cash in. That was $50 million, so it was a lot, but they didn't put much else in. Why didn't they put a lot more? I think it's because of this accounting volatility issue. You're constantly writing it down, but never writing it up until you sell it. It's asymmetric, it's ugly. This is how gold accounting works. And until we solve that accounting problem, I don't think you'll see a mass movement of corporate treasuries into Bitcoin. Certainly hedge funds, certainly anybody in the financial services industry, because they get an exception from this bad accounting rule, which is that they can mark to market their position up and down to fair value. But unless you're what's called an investment company under GAAP accounting standards, you got that asymmetric, you're only marking it down, never marking it up. And most companies, share prices tend to follow their earnings, and executive compensation plans tend to follow their earnings. And so people just don't want to take that downside risk in their comp plan and in their share price. Yeah.
Well, listen, we're coming to the end. Obviously, it's great to see you. It's always great to see you.
Yeah, always great to see you too. Yeah.
Hopefully, some point early next year, hopefully the planes will be flying. I'll be able to get back out there. We can get together with Tyler. We can all meet up and go and hang out. But
Or we'll all
lovely
go
to
get a
see you.
tattoo.
We'll get a tattoo, we'll get a steak, and we'll go shooting. But listen, good to see
I
you.
love it.
Take care. Love to see you soon.
Likewise. Thank you so much. You take care.
Take
Thanks
care.
for shopping. Thanks for stopping into WyoHackathon again. Bye, Peter.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you guys so much. Really appreciate it. It's you know, it's kind of one of those wild old deals. We've met so many wildcats over the last couple of years, and Peter McCormick's one of them. You know, that guy's a maximalist to his very core. He's intelligent. He gets it. He knows what's going on. So I super appreciate Peter participating. Next year, you're going to be here. First round's on me. I don't know about if I'm getting another tattoo. I got 2 tattoos, but they all happened when I may have not been sober in the United States Navy. So adding to that feels a little weird. I don't know.
It's all 3 of us or nothing.
Oh, now he's up the ante, Tyler.
All right. All right.
Right, I got to shoot, guys. Love to see you. Take care.
Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it. All right. So now we're getting down. We're getting down to the, well, we'll just call it a Wyoming thing. What it is. We're getting down to the nut cutting here, folks. And what we're going to jump into is the finalist videos. These are the top 10 finalists, 3-minute videos, and we're going to kick it off. And I think our AV guys know their business, so we're gonna kick it off with that, and then we're going to go to our judges to announce the winners. I already know who they are. I ain't letting nothing slip. Because that's going to be up to our judges. But we're going to start off with some videos. So AV guys, it's all you. All right.
So I think at its
next up,
core,
is liquid
the liquid
finance.
solution is aiming to address the problem of access to liquidity and interest and savings and credit for users around the world. Our team is developing an open source and non-custodial protocol that will enable the creation of lending markets or pools using the Marlowe and Plutus smart contract languages on the Cardano blockchain. Smart contract and DAO technologies enable interest rate instruments that provide a level of transparency and security orders of magnitude over the traditional finance system. At its core, the Liquid team is introducing a peer-to-peer loan system with decentralized identifiers such as Atala Prism with ZK proofs, a credit risk scoring algorithm, and a credit delegation feature to pose as a Web3 alternative to the current banking solutions. So over the course of the United Nations Hackathon Challenge, our team analyzed each of the Sustainable Development Goals, and we did this in the context of building an open source financial infrastructure. We posed questions like how can Liquid help democratize access to banking and drive economic inclusion to the users who need it the most? When we think about the underbanked user, or those without access to credit, or those users who might be faced with the diaspora today, how do we ensure that we're building a system that puts these users on equal footing as those in the West when it comes to access to banking and financial solutions? We also thought about how does Liquid fit in the United Nations blueprint to achieve a better and more sustainable future for all? At the basis for all of these questions is our core mission to provide a financial inclusion for users around the world without the restrictions of the current financial system. When we thought about the specific sustainable goals that aligned with the Liquid mission, goal number 8, to provide a sustainable economic growth model, really fit with the open source commitment of the Liquid protocol. We also think about our system's governance rights and the future ownership of the protocol going to the users of our system as a way that provides a sustainable economic growth model. When we think about the UN Sustainable Goal number 9, we think about Liquid and the financial instruments that can be built on top of our resilient financial infrastructure. We think about peer-to-peer models that can be formed in a decentralized manner, all based on Liquid open APIs and smart contracts. For goal number 10, we think about the Liquid system and the ability to remove third parties from the value chain of banking and financial services. Not only does this help reduce inequality, it returns the actual profit and revenues of the entire scheme to the key users of the system, the value creators, the borrowers, and the lenders. With the introduction of a credit delegation feature that will enable the formation of decentralized credit unions, we also felt that our solution was speaking to goals number 11, 16, and 17. With that, I'd like to thank all the judges on this panel for your reviewing and feedback on our proposal. If you have time, please check out our Marlowe development video to watch all of the demos of our contract functions that we built over the course of this hackathon. Cheers.
That guy's got a history. He can get a job as announcing. He's got a great voice for that. All right, next up, Savings Box.
Meet Abel. He is a coffee farmer in Ethiopia, and he needs to buy farming equipment for the upcoming harvest. He has no access to a financial institution, meaning he has no bank account and not available to get a loan. He has little cash saved at home, and he has access to a mobile phone. So his options for the upcoming harvest is saving until he reaches the cost of the equipment. And Abel's not alone. 1.7 billion adults remain unbanked. In the developing world, only 43% reported savings and 21% use a formal financial institution. So the common alternatives are to save by savings clubs, entrusting someone else, or just storing cash at home under the mattress, so to speak. So less than 20% can borrow from a financial institution. So raising emergency funds rely on family and friends. So the solution that we have come up with is Savings Box, a fun alternative to savings. Participants have a chance to win a pool of ADA, and that chance could be sooner than just simply saving. Without a loan or any interest, no bank account required, and you never lose any ADA, and you have a 100% chance to win. So let's look at an example. Each participant puts in a predetermined amount of ADA, in this case 10. One winner is selected and wins the pool. That winner cannot win again, yet continues to put in money into the pool until everyone wins, repeating the steps until all participants win once. And then after everyone wins, then the contract is complete. As a result of using the Savings Box, no one has actually won any money lost any money, yet 2 out of the 3 people have made money sooner than savings for 3 periods. Why Savings Box works. 2 out of 3 of the unbanked have a mobile phone, and looking at the developed economies, digital payments have rose by 12 percentage points to 44%. Smart contracts also allow participants to participate without having to trust other participants. And going back to Abel's case, because this is what it's all about, he can now have funds to buy equipment sooner than savings, 2 out of 3 times in the example we used before. And he did not need a bank nor any high interest loan, and did not need to borrow any money from family or friends.
I'm sitting here scratching my head. Sorry, guys. Next up, we're going to go to WyoHackathon. I'm pretty sure I pronounced that wrong, which is waste valorization as second raw material, and that's under the UN one. All right, Litterbuck.
Hi, Wyoming Hackathon. Let me introduce you WyoHackathon. So the idea is to find a digital marketplace where waste could find a second life as secondary raw material. So the idea of the management of waste is to prevent the waste, then minimize it. If we can't, we have to reuse or recycle, and finally we could recover the energy. So the idea is to be present at reuse and recycle stage. So if you have a waste, you put it on the platform, and there will be matching orders between possible direct consumer and people who like to recycle it. So actually, it is better to reuse a waste as a secondary raw material rather than recycling it, because you don't have to spend energy and you can directly put the waste inside the process. This project could be applicable at different scale and industry, so chemical, food, and metals. The waste market is $1 billion. There are 3 types of waste: municipal, industrial, and hazardous waste. We would like to be present at industrial and hazardous waste, in which the product could find some customers. What are the benefits? Waste could become a source of revenue. Actually, some companies are paying to get the waste eliminated, and they could sell it now. It could save some time for users. So actually, if you are a waste producer, you have to find quotation of different companies, and after you can decide. So with one platform, you only have to send a quotation to the platform, and you can have a faster data processing. Some people would be happy to use and to find a secondary raw material supply. All actors have a better knowledge of the market because the data, you can find it. And it's a commitment to the environment because the companies will produce less waste and report it in their corporate reports. Why doing business together? So you want to do a better world through blockchain. We would like to improve reuse and recycling. What are the technical challenges? We have to build an open source platform for matching orders. We have to build an open blockchain for waste market data, composition, price, volume, planning, and location. We have to settle all transactions on the main chain with 2 types of smart contracts. And for legal requirements, we need accredited wallets for hazardous waste. The team, actually, we are 2 people, myself and Yannick Rivio. We are both chemical engineers. We have some contact with iCare, so it's a research institute which could help us. And we also have contacts with companies which would be interested to launch a product in Switzerland and in France. I hope that you loved my presentation, and I hope to hear from you soon. Have a nice day. Bye.
All right, guys. Next up, and this is we're still on the UN challenge, the blockchain for social good. Next up is We Think It Matters, cause integrated advertising.
Have you ever seen a post on social media or gotten an email about a cause you cared about and was asking for money? Did you want to support the cause but didn't? What if they were only asking for your vote and the money for the cause would come from a business sponsoring the campaign? Would you vote for a nonprofit to receive funding then? WeThinkItMatters.com makes it easy to raise money for charities with just the tap of your finger. WTIM is a cause-integrated advertising platform where people and businesses can work together to increase funding for nonprofits with money that is being spent on marketing already. Every year, businesses spend over $500 billion on advertising, but during that same time frame, they only give about $18 billion to charities. And during that same time frame, people give about $280 billion to charities, 15 times more than businesses every year. WeThinkItMatters.com offers businesses an innovative way to use advertising dollars in marketing campaigns that directly impact nonprofit partners. 60% of every dollar spent advertising on WeThinkItMatters.com goes to nonprofits, and 10% to the people voting in the campaigns. Imagine you're a pencil company, and besides making great pencils, the company also cares about deforestation or homeless youth education. Well, with a We Think It Matters campaign, your business could bring attention to why you think it matters, and bring attention to nonprofits working on the cause, and also know that 60% of what you spent on the marketing campaign will go to nonprofit partners. WTIM offers businesses a better ROI from advertising dollars through cause sponsorship. It offers nonprofit partners free digital fundraising tools that bring attention and dollars to their missions. And WTIM offers members easy and rewarding opportunities to raise money for causes they care about with just the tap of their finger. Visit WeThinkItMatters.com to start raising money for what matters to you.
All right, guys, we're on to Enhance Actus in Marlowe. First up is Easy Read. So we're going to click to that one.
Hello, my project is Marlowe Easy Read. The project's goals is to enhance Actus in Marlowe. We're going to do this by demonstrating how you can use a human-readable language to compile code. My name is Tony. I go by the handle Tony from Shoshone Online. I'm a co-founder of a company called Crypto Bounty, LLC. I'm a stake pool operator on the Cardano network. My ticker name is 307. I'm a technology coordinator and technology instructor for a small school district in central Wyoming. I love Cardano. I love my grandkids. I love Wyoming and learning and teaching blockchain technologies. The problem, although you can create contracts in JavaScript, Haskell, or Blockly in Marlowe, is Haskell and JavaScript and Blockly are not all that readable for someone without a programming background. A person entering into a contract would have a hard time verifying the intent without the assistance of a computer programmer. I believe the solution to this would be to integrate the open source language Lexon into Marlowe. Lexon allows you to write contracts that are legally binding in a human-readable language that compiles directly to a smart contract. I would love to see Lexon support Plutus down the road. The value would be you could write your contracts in a human-readable code that basically could work as a legal contract and also compile directly to a smart contract. If we could do this in Marlowe, I think it would be a real game changer. The benefits are pretty straightforward. Text can serve as a legal contract that a party, lawyer, judge could easily understand. Text could compile directly to an executable smart contract. Participation in DAOs would be much more comprehensible if the DAO rules were written out in human-readable code. Using Actus templates along with a human-readable code within Marlowe would really set it apart from the competition. Lexon is a new and innovative language that I first heard about while watching the Select Committee's blockchain meeting during the Wyoming Stampede from September 24, 2020. I immediately purchased a couple Lexon books, and after several days of reading and studying, I truly believe this human-readable code has a bright future and is a solid solution for producing understandable smart contracts.
All right, Tony from Shoshone. He's one of our originals that immediately piled together, along with Jesse, a bunch of kids from Shoshone, Wyoming, which legitimately is a cow town. There is no tech out in Shoshone except for what those guys have brought those kids, and they're a pretty impressive group of people and some of my heroes. All right, next one is Marlo Actus Enhancement.
Hello, this is Finley McElwain, and I'm part of the McElwain Brothers team with my brother Keegan McElwain, and this is our submission to the 2020 WyoHackathon for Enhancing Actus in Marlo. To introduce ourselves, I'm Finley McElwain, and my brother is Keegan McElwain. We're Cheyenne, Wyoming natives, and we're graduate computer science students at the University of Wyoming. So for those of you who aren't really familiar with Marlo or Actus, Marlo is a domain-specific language for writing smart contracts. It's developed by WyoHK for the Cardano blockchain, and Actus is an algorithmic standard for financial contracts. And Marlo's aim is to implement as many of the Actus contract templates as they can right now, basically. So the goals of this project were to add another Actus contract template to Marlo, and to make it available in their development environment Blockly online, and also to extend the Actus standard to Marlo by implementing the applicability model defined by Actus, which we'll describe later. The results of our project were very good, and we're very happy with it. We've implemented a linear amortizer contract template and made it available in Blockly, and we've also added the applicability model to Marlo and implemented the applicability models for both the principal at maturity and linear amortizer contracts. So now for a live demo. So here I am in Blockly, which is the web-based development environment for Marlo smart contracts. As you can see here, I've queued up our linear amortizer block that we've added. If we look on the left in the contracts field, we can see that there's a principal at maturity contract that was previously implemented by the Marlo team. And then this block that we've added is the linear amortizer, which is a template for linear amortizer financial contracts. So this one that I've put together here is basically just a simple loan where you pay some interest and you pay off principal on a cycle as well. So if we generate a reactive contract, we can see what it does. We first make our initial deposit of $500, and then we'll start seeing some principal payments where we're paying off the amount that has been loaned and some interest payments here. The interest payment amount decreases as we pay off the notional, until finally the contract will close once everything is paid off. And if I remove one of these required fields here, as a result of the applicability model, which defines required terms for contract templates that we've implemented in the Marlo here, if I try to generate a contract now, I'll get an error that says that contract term was required for that contract type. So if you'd like to see more, please come check it out. I have it deployed at marlo.finley.dev, and I would urge you to come mess around with it. See if you can break it.
All right, see if you can break it, folks. All right, next we're going to the best solution for economic development in Wyoming, and we're going to be hearing from the Shoshone kids, the Shoshone Hackers Stake Pool Project.
Hi, I'm Jesse Smith, a technologist, stake pool operator on Cardano mainnet. I run the stake pool Bounty One. I currently teach computer science and STEM technologies to high school students. We currently are learning about blockchain and stake pool operation on Cardano testnet. My students are working on a Raspberry Pi stake pool project. We are currently running 22 Cardano nodes using the Haskell software on 4 GB Raspberry Pi 4s. These are all configured and currently up and running on the Cardano testnet. The goal with this project is to have each student running and managing their own pool. They will learn a long list of skills as we do this. Currently they're configured in a relay and block producer configuration. We've gone from, I have students that have never opened a command line to they're now learning how to configure a stake pool. So we're learning command line interface skills, Linux skills. We have to learn about TCP IP. This is all project based. We're learning how to format JSONs, how to do some DevOps things like a small amount of programming. We're building open source software from source, using things like Cabal. The goal of this project is to have my students running successful Cardano stake pools, and to hopefully develop some very legitimate and good DevOps skills. One of the key things in this is figuring out how to incentivize our local internal network. We do have some ideas on how we're going to do this. One of which is to provide, you can trade your Shoshone ADA or whatever for things like virtual reality time or other cool things that we have set up. It'll also be nice to see if we can encourage adoption outside of our classroom, to see if we can get other students in the school involved. Why is this important for Wyoming? Well, Wyoming is the friendliest blockchain state in the US. With the legislation that has been passed over the last couple of years, we're starting to see a flood of activity and companies moving here, not only in name and not only through LLCs, but they're moving here physically. The demands on labor are going to increase. There's going to be quite a talent gap coming up, especially locally. I believe, how Wyoming is positioned, I feel like we need to grow our own talent. I think this cannot be overstated. I want to give opportunities to students in a rural school in a cutting edge industry like cryptocurrencies, blockchain.
That is Jesse, as we know him, Blockchain Jesus. And I do want to let you guys know, if there's any moms or dads out there watching, it's important to note that Wyoming is one of the first states to adopt computer science standards into our public education system. And it's exceedingly important for us. All of that video that you were watching on there is at a Wyoming school. And so all of that equipment, the 3D printers, the higher end tech, all of those things, that's where Wyoming's investment goes. It goes into our next generation. So we're pretty pumped about that. Next video is by Wyoming Incubation Coins, and WYO is their coin name. All right, guys. Next one up is Wyoming Invest Now exemption and legal security token. It's important to note that Wyoming was the first state in the nation to actually define what a security token or a utility token are in law. So not that we should look towards the government as being a solution, but there was a little bit of one provided there. So Wyoming Invest Now exemption and legal security token.
Hello and welcome to the Best of Wyoming blockchain team presentation. When we speak about Bitcoin as a virtual currency, we think of spending. We can load a wallet and interact with our favorite websites. We can purchase goods and services peer-to-peer. Here we can use it to log into Metropia, a private social network for Wyoming residents and businesses to interact peer-to-peer in the interest of economic development. New Wyoming crowdfunding laws allow for accredited and unaccredited investors alike to participate in these Wyoming public offerings. Here, Teatro streams movies for Bitcoin and charges micropayments per second. MoneyStream syncs with MoneyButton to make pre-authorized micropayments that send transactions to the mempool to be mined. Here, a company in the cattle industry, Beef Chain, seeks to vertically integrate into high-tech feedlots in order to use blockchain technology to track prime Wyoming grass-fed beef from the field to your plate. HB 101 allows for the storage of company records on a blockchain. Beco Media provides you a low-budget real-time solution to storing company records on chain. These records can be recalled for many reasons, and in the case of movies, allows for fans and investors to see the nuts and bolts of every production. In Wyoming, there can be many broker-dealers in the space. They can list projects, sell tokens, and fans and investors can review the elements of the investment and decide if they want to invest. Our last use case is a real-world Wyoming Invest Now candidate, Blockchain Studios LLC. It was formed as a Wyoming Series LLC for the purpose of providing finance, portal, and hosting services to companies issuing over-the-counter securities under the Wyoming Secretary of State's exemption for interest rate offerings. The detailed exemption form needs to be complete and filed with the Secretary of State before a security can be sold. The process is straightforward, and the website details what's required in order to be eligible for the exemption. There are many forms and declarations alike. Who will sell the securities to the public? Portals have to file as well. We started 2 Wyoming LLCs in the hack, and we keep records on the blockchain in the hopes that we could launch a new kind of financial instrument in the great state of Wyoming, one that can stand in a court of law and be read by both humans and machines. But we were unable to locate a bank or depository equipped to offer non-real estate escrow services. We called around the state, and everyone said the same thing: call Matt Kaufman. Matt Kaufman did not endorse this message.
That is hilarious. I really like that last portion on Matt Kaufman. For those of you that don't know Matt Kaufman, he's a pretty big name around Wyoming in regards to a lot of these laws. He's really delved in pretty deep. He's an attorney in Wyoming that practices in a lot of different areas, corporate law, but specializes in securities. And so, as you can probably tell, that's important. All right, next one we're going into, I'm guessing this stands for Secretary of State. So Wyoming Secretary of State API is the next video.
Hi, my name is Jose. I'm submitting the Wyoming Registry Open API as part of the Wyoming 2020 Hackathon. And what we want to showcase today is the idea of a read-only open API for the Wyoming Business Registry, and well, all data is being provided by the Secretary of the State. So as most of you know, if you go to the Secretary of the State business portal, you can search a company by providing the name, right? So if I do, let's say, blockchain, it will look for all companies that have been filed with a name related to the blockchain company. But of course, that's all the information that I can retrieve. I have no way to check which companies were registered at a given point of time. I have to go through this list. I have to go through all these pages, and it's not very easy to go through, let's say, 76 entries to look for the one that I want. So what we did was put together an open API that allows me to do this kind of granular search and provide different parameters to get that information as I need it, right? So in this case, let's say if I want to get this filing from a specific user that I want to know that it was given a given number and a given ID, and I just want to limit them, and let's say by 10, then I will just give me that information, and then I can provide as any parameters as I want, and it will allow me to actually get this information as I need it, right? So in this example, let's say if I wanted to do where the filling date was, as I mentioned, let's say equal is like, let's say 2020, it will show me companies that were filled during that year, and will, let's say in the previous example, as I mentioned, if I wanted to find companies that had the name blockchain in it, it will allow me to do that very easily. And now I don't have to go through this all these entries, but instead I can go through here and only look for companies that were filled within this year and in an easy and readable way. So the Open API is for anyone to use. The use cases, as I mentioned, I just shown one of them, but then another one is, for instance, let's say I want to register a party, which is also part of the database given by the Secretary of State in my city. So let's say I live in Denver, and I want to see which registrants are able to provide services for registering companies in Wyoming. Then it shows me the address and the name of the contact person. But let's say if I'm also in Texas, I can just look also by state. Of course, all these queries are predefined, but anybody can just use them as needed. Let's say I want to do now another demo is, let's say we want to look for the tax standing status of a company in a given year. So let's say if I do 2012, it shows me some companies, their annual report, the filing status as it is, and when it was given by. Although these are predefined into the demonstration, all the code is open source, and anybody can just any developer can just build applications on top of these.
You must have gone over time a little bit. We only allow 3 minutes, so we went over time a little bit, but that's a great tool. In the state of Wyoming, when we first started this whole movement trying to track if we were successful and businesses were coming to the state of Wyoming, we can't tell what type of business you're in by your filing. And there's no way for us to track it, which is good because we don't want the government just being nosy for the sake of being nosy. So we would search on the Secretary of State's website trying to figure out who's who and figure out if we were being successful. So that's a handy tool right there. All right, now we're going into the WyoHackathon 2020 Blockchain Voting Challenge. And first one up is the Bitcoin voting booth.
Hello, this is the presentation for the Bitcoin voting booth. So in the test, I just created some sample voters with a little tool. Now let's go to the election. And let's just call it E1. And our election is just going to have 2 candidates. Now it's actually writing to the blockchain, and it created an election with 3 votes because we have 3 voters, and we're just going to send a vote to each voter. Okay, 3 votes sent to the voters. Now let's actually vote. So we're going to send that vote for 1, send this vote for candidate 2, and this vote for candidate 1. And you can see there's stuff going on in the background. We are actually communicating with the blockchain at this point. Now to see the results, we will go back to the election. And what it's going to do is, since those votes were cast to a candidate, we can go to the election and look on the blockchain to see how people actually voted. Because Bitcoin is a public blockchain, but what you would want to do is add a layer of confidentiality and privacy for the voters, of course. So we can run a confidential election on Bitcoin using blind signatures and bit commitments. And for our chain analysis, there are 3 main Bitcoin chains that implement the Bitcoin protocol. They range from a store of value like BTC, which you see can be quite expensive. So you probably would not want to implement this on a store of value chain. You would probably want to go down to a chain that's built for usability. So on ours, we would implement on Bitcoin SV. So thank you very much. We had a really fun time.
All right, great. So up next on the Wyoming Hackathon 2020 Blockchain Voting Challenge, we've got what's next for WyVote 2021 and beyond. All right, so that's our two for the Wyoming Hackathon 2020 Blockchain Voting Challenge. Up next, we're going to the Battle Snake Challenge. One who has no name, Greedy Snake. All right. And I was told by our executive director that War Snake was already shown. So we're not going to show it again. But you know what? He's not the MC. I like that video. Let's show it again. War Snake, guys. Maybe our AV guys aren't going to listen to the MC. They don't like War Snake. All right. Okay. They're getting it loaded up. It's not Prime, they said, but they're getting her loaded up. It is a good video, and this is the finale. They got to show it, Rich. All right, rock and roll. Oops, I think this is the last one. This is the one who has no name. Yeah, there we go. Played the wrong one there. I think they're getting worse. Ready? Maybe. Technical difficulties. We should have a challenge next year that makes our AV guys' life easier. It's War Snake is what it's called for the AV guys.
Yeah, they know which one it is.
Well, they asked in the chat. Sorry about this, gang. I know you guys are all eating. Right? You guys are welcome. That's a fun video. Rich, you're welcome. All right, guys. Hey, so we're going to start in reverse order here. Do you want to go ahead and do the Battle Snake competition first there, Rich?
No, we just want to go in reverse order in terms of each.
Okay. Yeah, no, I got you. I got you.
Start from third place up.
Okay. All right. So, and we're
that guy in there. That's Brian.
Hey,
Brian, one of our judges. Thanks for joining us, Brian. Appreciate you.
Of course. No, this has just been a lot of fun. You know, I've heard a few numbers here, you know, leading up to this finale. You know, I heard there were 4,000 attendees.
Yeah, that's right.
True story. Yeah.
97 countries.
7 countries.
97.
97. Well, that's even more.
And for the hackathon alone, there were 39 countries or 97 countries. Yeah, 97 countries. Sorry.
There's 97 countries attended the Wyoming Hackathon. 39 countries competed.
That's right. 39 competed.
And I think I saw like 200 submissions.
Yeah,
and
221.
221. And so, yeah, now it's narrowed down.
Yeah, for a total of 46 total submissions. Yeah.
You guys did a lot of work, Brian. Really appreciate it. That was a lot. All right, you guys ready for the first one?
Absolutely.
What category are we in for the first?
Blockchain for social good, supporting the United Nations Social Development Goals.
Ah, okay.
You ready for that one? We're gonna do third place first.
Now, did the AB guys have the slide deck up?
I don't know.
Oh yeah, they do.
Don't
Go.
question them, Rich. You just do your job of bullying.
Yeah, it jumps into the first one. So before we show it, you know, third place for blockchain for social good, you know, this is a $2,000 prize. So
it's a good chunk of coin right off the get-go. Why don't you go ahead and announce this one there, Brian?
Third place, blockchain for social good, is going to FunTrack.
Bam!
It's the $2,000 prize.
$2,000. That would have bought you more Bitcoin this morning than it does right now, or at least last I checked. All right.
It's not a bad use of prize money.
FunTrack.
Yeah. All right. Going into our second place. Rich, go ahead.
Now, do we have the FunTrack folks there?
Oh yeah, we got to bring those guys in.
All right, bring them on.
Everybody
Hi. This is Len, and I think Chris is on also.
Awesome. Well, congrats, guys.
Thank you. We worked hard.
Yeah, no, it was apparent. And really appreciate you guys. I hope you guys will come back next year to join us at the Wyoming Hackathon, maybe even in person.
Len, good to see you.
Good idea. As long as as long as COVID cooperates.
Yeah, that's a fact.
What to say?
Chris and I are both in that. Chris is in Greece and I'm in Cyprus.
Wow.
Awesome.
Bam.
Thanks for participating.
Thanks. Yeah, we really enjoyed it.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. Second place, Rich Kopko. Lay it out there.
I don't know who second place is. That's Brian.
Oh, Brian, go ahead.
Second place, the $3,000 prize is going to WyoHackthon for waste valorization.
Woo!
Bam. Congrats. Let's get those guys in there. I think WyoHackthon, they were French. Was that right? I don't know. We'll see if we can get them in here real quick. And
I wouldn't want to assume.
Yeah.
You WyoHackthon?
You're on mute.
That is not the WyoHackthon guy.
That's not the WyoHackthon guy.
Not the
Yeah, not me.
Where is our WyoHackthon guy? Well, he might not be joining us. I'm gonna.
That's okay. He's they're probably sleeping right now.
That's true. They're probably sleeping. So they won $3,000 now. Big congrats to those guys.
He has a great surprise when he wakes up, the Bitcoin price and the prize.
Yeah. All right, we're going into first place. Brian Bishop, go for it.
Oh, I won first? Oh, that's great. Fantastic. No, first place, the $5,000 prize, blockchain for social good, going to Liquid.
Woo! Congrats. All right, now you can turn your video on. Where'd he go? There he is.
Thank you so much, guys.
Yeah, congrats. That's
Can you
awesome.
hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
DC, how are you doing? How you feeling, brother? Feel like a winner?
I'm doing well. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you. You're
Thanks
kind
so
of free.
much. I'm sorry. Thanks for having us, guys. It was a blast to compete in this. We had a great time. Our developers based in Australia, they really worked hard on these Marlowe smart contracts, and we're proud of them. You can learn more about what we're building at liquid.finance, and just want to say thank you again. So appreciate it, guys.
Yeah. I will note also, as a reason to move to Wyoming, maybe use some of that prize money to move to Wyoming. We do have better broadband here. I'm 20 miles from a cow town of 1,100 people, and I got fiber direct to my door. Time to move. All right. We're going on to Enhance Actus in Marlowe. Brian Bishop, I think we got a first place to announce there.
We do. You know, I like this challenge. It was specific. You know, there was a definition, and you know, the teams went for it. First place prize for Enhancing Actus in Marlowe is a $5,000 prize going to the Marlowe Actus Enhancement team.
Woo!
Big congrats, guys. Big congrats.
Who in the world is that?
Who's this guy with the hippie guitars on his wall? What's going on with that?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
Oh, okay, cool.
Can't see you though.
Yeah, thanks. That's great.
Where are you
And
gonna use that on? $5,000.
I don't know. We'll see. Maybe save it. I'm in college still, so you know, saving every penny.
Yeah. Save it. Make sure to save it in a currency that holds its value or increases in value, though.
Oh, I got you on that. Don't worry.
Finley on the video. Oh, there
They'll see my hippie guitars.
Yeah. All right.
So you're a student at UW.
That's right.
When are you graduating?
I'm doing a PhD right now in computer science. So
great.
just first semester, so kind of up in the air where graduation date is, but
Very
hopefully sooner than later. But I loving the Laramie, loving Wyoming, so no rush to get out of here.
Yeah.
He's looking for a CS mentor.
And remember, you don't have to leave Wyoming to get a job now, because
I
there's
know.
a lot of work attracting
yeah.
candidates. In fact, one of our sponsors, WyoHK, is always looking for help. So,
yep, I'm well aware. Thank you, guys. This was great.
Thank you, Finley. Appreciate you, brother.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, the best solution for economic development in Wyoming. Super excited about this one. We're going to go, Brian, go ahead and knock it out of the park on third place.
Third place. This is a $1,000 prize. Best solution for economic development in Wyoming is going to the Wyoming Invest Now exemption and legal security token project.
And they're not connected right now. Super bummer. All right. That was the video with the Matt Kaufman portion at the end, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That was hilarious.
Ted, yeah, good work, Ted.
Yeah. Good job. I think he's actually a doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Second place.
Second place for $2,500. It's going to the Wyoming Secretary of State API project.
Bam.
SOS.
We got those guys
I
connected.
really liked this one. I thought they did well. Very simple idea, great execution. Solid.
Immediate usability.
Yeah, they're in Germany. They're sleeping.
Yeah, they're sleeping.
Well, they'll also have good news when they wake up.
Yeah. And it's
I'm not sleeping.
Oh,
we're here.
He's on.
Hi there. How's it going? Cheers from Switzerland.
Yeah, congrats, man. What time is it there?
It's roughly 8 p.m., something like that. 8:15.
That's not bad.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
Are you on a
Well, thanks for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Looks like he's on a subway. You'll note that there are no active subways in the state of Wyoming. We don't
Well, it's
have
a little bit of a tram line in the city of Zurich, so it's not too bad. But yeah.
Well, that's why we have the Economic Development Challenge. To get
That's
those
right.
Good.
Well, hey,
looking forward to that one then.
Yeah, super good job, and really appreciate your participation, and move to Wyoming.
Yeah, and as
I will. It definitely looks way better.
Awesome.
Part of that prize is you got free rent at one of the Impact 307 co-working spaces.
Okay. Then I'll definitely make sure to use that. I'll just make sure that Corona gets better. So after that, the problem will be to make sure that I get out though.
Which for people listening, the state of Wyoming, I think we've had a total of 100 deaths in the state of Wyoming, Corona, which is pretty.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
Right. Well,
Yesterday we had 8,000 cases, something like that in Switzerland.
Yeah, we ain't that bad. Time to move, brother. All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate you, sir. All right, we're going on to our first place. First place. This is $9,000. The hell is somebody going to do with $9,000? Brian, go ahead, man.
Pleased to announce the first place prize for best solution in economic development in Wyoming is going to the Shoshone Hackers and Stakers.
Bam. Sweet. Blockchain Jesus, are you on?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, there's Jesse. Right
Wow,
on, man.
Hey, thank you very much. I really didn't expect to win. I just was happy to share our efforts. Love what you guys do. Happy to be a part of it.
Right on, man. Right on. Well, it's all about the babies. It's all about them, that next generation, and you're making huge leaps beyond everybody else, and it's super appreciated what you're doing.
Hey, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Following your guys' lead. You guys have done a great job with leading the state in the right direction, and I want to help close that talent gap that's coming.
That's right. That's right. We got to keep those kids here. quit exporting our
Yes.
best natural resource, and that's
Absolutely.
you're doing a lot to keep those kids here, and that's super appreciated.
Thanks, Tyler. Appreciate it.
Yeah. All right, we're moving. We're trucking along here. We're going on to the WyoHackathon 2020 Blockchain Voting Challenge, and I think this is a whole Bitcoin. I think the prize is 1 Bitcoin. Is that right?
This, Brock?
Yeah, Brock Pierce, one of our he came in for the Wyoming Hackathon and spent some time here with Nick Spanos, and Wyoming's not just
Brittany Kaiser. Yep.
Yeah, Brittany Kaiser was here. That's right. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and announce this. Brian Bishop, who's our winner?
Our winner for first place on the WyoHackathon 2020 Blockchain Voting Challenge is going to, and this is for 1 Bitcoin, which, as everyone knows today, is becoming increasingly more valuable. This is going to What's Next for Wyo Vote 2021.
Wow.
Bam. 1 Bitcoin. Bam. Congrats. That might be like $100,000 in a couple months here. I'm bullish about it. Hey, lady.
Hey, how's everyone?
Hi.
You
Hey,
got
can
yourself
you hear me all right?
Yeah, we got you.
Hey, I just want to say on September 26th, 6 random people, we didn't know each other. We came together on this challenge. We're representing India, Estonia, St. Louis, Michigan, Denver, Wyoming. We came together for this challenge and we learned so much about how we can have impact for Wyoming. And we are inspired, we're informed, we're resolved, we're unified, and we're so grateful for this opportunity, and we want to take it forward.
Awesome. Well,
and you also have free rent at the Impact 307 when you move up to Laramie or Casper or any of the places they have an office.
Woo!
Also, please note too that during the when we first kicked this deal off, I did offer whoever won my services in regards to making those connections happen and moving this ball forward in the state of Wyoming. So make sure you get back in contact with me, and I'll make sure that you have the proper tools necessary to talk with election officials across the state of Wyoming as far as implementation.
Thank you so much. And thank you, team. The team was awesome. Made lifelong friends. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All right. Going on to our final challenge. This is Battlesnake. And we're gonna do our rookie round first. Brian Bishop, who's our rookie winner?
The rookie winner for Battlesnake. This is a $750 prize. It's going to the one who has no name, Greedy Snake.
Bam. Surely we got those guys on, don't we? I think we do.
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, he's here. Yeah.
Hey, there he is.
Yay. Right. It's fun to compete in Battlesnake rookie division, and thank you for bringing Battlesnake to Wyoming. It's a good platform to learn some programming skills. So thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, congrats, man. Awesome.
And what are you doing at UW?
So I'm a PhD student in mathematics, and this is my 5th year, and I think I will graduate soon. Yeah.
Awesome. Bright future. You know who else has I think he's got a doctorate in mathematics is Charles Hoskinson. I think he's got a doctorate, I believe. Anyways, you guys are all way smarter than me. I got 10 fingers. I know that. All right, I'm gonna shut up. My jokes aren't funny.
Congratulations, Lebo.
Thank you.
All right, going to our veteran. Go ahead, Brian.
First place veteran, Battlesnake. This is a $1,250 prize, and it's going to War Snake.
Bam! Congrats! Way to go, Finley.
Thank you. It's great. I feel like a veteran.
Yeah, you can go buy yourself another hippie guitar now.
Get a nice hippie guitar for that amount of money.
No, that's great.
Thanks, guys.
Man.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate you putting in the time and energy into this whole deal.
Yeah, no problem. I'll be here every year that I can be. So
awesome.
You guys keep up the great work.
Looks like you got your semester tuition paid this time around.
Yeah, that's not a worry this semester. That's for sure.
Awesome.
Good for you.
All right. Well, congratulations, man.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
All right. So we're going to go to our challenge sponsors now. Isn't that right, Rich?
Yeah.
All right. Challenge sponsors. We're going to be joined by myself, Steve Lupian, Caitlin Long, Rich Kopko, Brittany Kaiser, Charles Hoskinson, Brock Pierce, Mark Libert. I can't pronounce that last name.
Not coming. Don't worry.
All right. Romaine and can't pronounce that first name. K-Y-R-I-C-O.
It's not coming either.
Hopefully they're coming in. Hopefully they're getting in here.
Yeah.
Then we're gonna have to we gotta announce the folks that won the LawCon books, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Caitlin's joining us. All right.
Hey, howdy.
Hopefully we get some other folks loaded in here pretty quick.
I know Brock's in Cheyenne today. Brittany's in Cheyenne. He's doing his big shindig here today.
Yeah. It's the Independent National Convention, I think is what they're throwing in Chi-Town.
Yeah. I think Nick Spanos is here too. I haven't seen him, but he was traveling with Brock. So another one of our distinguished judges.
Yeah. No, it's pretty fantastic. It's kind of a hell of a list we put together as far as in the crypto space. It's pretty wild.
For sure.
The thing we were trying to accomplish here is get a perspective from the sponsors on why they did the particular challenge. So Caitlin, for the last couple of years, all 3 years, you've been supporting the Best for Wyoming. Can you talk about that?
You bet. And by the way, I just got a message. You may have seen me try to communicate while I'm live with someone who is trying to get my attention. Brock can't get in. So if the AV guys can work on letting, there are 3 or 4 people apparently who can't get in, some of the sponsors. So we should make sure, if possible, that they can get in. Everybody's in. You may have seen me try to communicate while I'm live with someone who is trying to get my attention.
There's Brittany, yeah, and there's Steve.
AV guys work on letting, there are 3 or 4 people apparently who can't get in.
Somebody's got their YouTube on or they got the live deal on. They're fired for being techie, considered techie from here on out.
Oh yeah, got that posted.
Are we good now? We got everybody? I don't hear it anymore. So somebody doesn't want to admit their guilt. I think Brittany Kaiser's at the Little America right now.
I am indeed. Greetings to everyone from Cheyenne.
I recognize that print on the wall.
Yeah, well, you called it out of the water. That is correct. We are very pleased to have brought a lot of very interesting human beings to Cheyenne, Wyoming, and brought a lot of temporary jobs to the people of Wyoming during this crazy time. So yeah, it's an amazing day. It's been a great weekend. Looking forward to seeing more of you this evening or this afternoon.
Yeah.
So this part's about why you guys decided to post this challenge. And we have Caitlin and Steve, who is at the Blockchain Center of Excellence. Both of you guys have supported the challenge with funds, and Brittany and Brock Foundation have supported the challenge with funds. Why did you guys do this stuff?
Caitlin, why don't you, Caitlin, you're on mute.
Hey, sorry. Well, lots of technical problems. Yeah, I started it as a thank you to Wyoming. I've personally sponsored it for the last 3 years, and also Avanti sponsored it this year, are one of the new SPDI Speedy Banks. And the whole goal is literally to thank Wyoming. This whole thing is all about economic development in Wyoming and giving more opportunity to the students of Wyoming. I'm so psyched for the Shoshone hackers winning money yet again. You guys are going to build an unbelievable lab It's already unbelievable, but the best computer lab in the country is going to be in tiny Shoshone, Wyoming, thanks to the very special teachers, Jesse Smith and Tony Olson. You guys are awesome. And that's what it's all about. We want to bring businesses in and support the people here in Wyoming so that they can actually work in careers in tech here in Wyoming.
Brittany, why don't you jump in next?
Absolutely. And I have to really echo a lot of Caitlin's sentiments that this is really all about thanking the people of Wyoming who have worked so hard to make this the epicenter of innovation. This is to thank all of the hardworking students and teachers and professors who are always able to make this happen. For the past 3 years, this has been one of the most important events to me, to watch all of these incredible people come together, not just from around Wyoming, but from around the country and around the world. People flying in from everywhere in order to support what the incredible activists and legislators and members of the public and also commercial innovators have come together to create here. So this is about supporting the ecosystem. It's about supporting students learning how to be innovators at a young age and how to participate in the system, become their own entrepreneurs, being able to build solutions that are going to change our future for the better. And of course, our particular challenge, we were so excited, especially to create, because after the successes of 5 blockchain voting pilots in the United States, and also blockchain voting pilots that are being used in nearly every political party, and even at the Independent National Convention event that I'm at right now, where we're testing out blockchain voting, liquid democracy, and e-governance systems. We wanted to put a challenge out there so that students could start to participate in democracy, even if some of them aren't old enough to vote just yet, but to start to think about what they want to see as the future of voting so that it's accessible and easy, and that we can hopefully see more eligible voters in the United States participating in their own governance and their own future.
Absolutely, spot on. And super appreciate you making Wyoming your home, by the way, Brittany. Brittany was one of the first people that I threw out my garbage that I always throw at everybody, which is, why haven't you moved to Wyoming yet? And Brittany was just like, shut up, I have. So really appreciate that. Really appreciate the 1 Bitcoin. That's a baller move, because that is worth a hell of a lot more now than it was when this challenge was made. I was hoping it was going to be worth like $100 grand. That'd have been a hoot.
If I can chime in for a minute too, Brittany, and a special thanks to Brittany and in particular Brock Pierce. As we announced with the hackathon a month ago, University of Wyoming created the new Center for Blockchain and Digital Innovation, and there'll be some releases coming out real shortly. But I wanted to take a minute and Brock really put his Bitcoin where his mouth is, and has graciously pledged additional Bitcoin in not only this year, but into the future to help support the center. So again, not only has Brittany made Wyoming her home, I'm hoping Brock's going to make his home here too, but they have very graciously made sure that the Center for Blockchain and Digital Innovation has the resources to be able to impact student programs and work with faculty and engage with our business community, and help folks like Jesse and Tony and Shoshone continue to do the amazing work they're doing. So a special call out and a special thanks.
Yeah. No, I think that's fantastic. And a big thanks to Caitlin and Steve for you guys sponsoring that challenge every year, the Best for Wyoming, Brittany and Brock and those guys sponsoring the Wyoming Voting Challenge. I think it's just as good as it gets. And these are the type of cats that, randomly show up. I was over in Jackson, Wyoming at a food event, because those of you that know me know that I'm pretty geeky on food policy, also food and blockchain. It's like my thing, right? Which kind of makes sense with the whole beef chain thing. But anyways, I was speaking at this deal and helping sponsor that event, and Steve and Caitlin and Brittany and her guy all showed up. And Jackson, is not close to Cheyenne. It's an 8-hour drive. I mean, that's a hoof. I mean, fly in there, but I mean, those guys drove. It's a hell of a haul. So I really appreciate them. Blockchainers in Wyoming seem to be a pretty tight-knit crew, and we're growing the bench. The bench is being grown right here. So if you're not in Wyoming yet, you're going to miss out. And that's going to suck to be you.
By the way, Tyler, it was good food. That's why we made the drive.
Yeah, it was good food. It was good food. I actually showed up with a empty bag of McDonald's when I first got there and about got tackled for it. But I don't have McDonald's in my town, so it's like a special treat. All right, guys. So we're gonna go ahead and kick it right to the celebration, and that's the conclusion. And we're gonna bring in Christopher Allen. We're gonna bring in Chris Snook, Charles Hoskinson if he's gonna jump in, Corey Billington, George Mascari, Brian Bishop, Nick Spanos if he's on, Scott Stornetta, Ed Seidel, Mark Liberati, Romaine, Kyriakos, Ben Rose, and all of the any other judges. If you're on, it'd be great to have you jump on. And anybody, just go ahead and well, most aren't here, but they're here in spirit. So really appreciate everybody. This has been a great event, and we're hoping next year is bigger and better. I'm betting, Caitlin, I actually want to know where you're at on this, and Rich too. I'm betting we can pop 300,000 next year as far as money. What do you think? Oh, you're on mute again.
Sorry, when you made that challenge last year, Tyler, I thought you were nuts when you wanted to go over 200,000, and we were able to do it. So I hope your prediction is right and your challenge is accepted, Tyler.
Oh, we're doing it. It's going to happen. I'm predicting it.
Oh, I think so too. We've got the Speedy Banks getting chartered and opening their doors, and some of the trust companies too that are going to be custodying digital assets. All this, we're only here because of the work of the folks from Wyoming who made it all happen. So this is a way to pay the community back.
Yeah.
Looks like we've got a bunch of the competitors here. What's going on, guys? Did you have fun? Woo!
Anybody could jump up and say anything.
Well done, guys.
Yeah.
What are you
Bunch
drinking?
of winners here.
No idea what he just said.
I said we have a bunch of winners here. Not
yeah.
We do indeed.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Wyoming. Yay. Big opportunity. Thank you to the sponsors.
Yeah.
And a call out to Simba Chain because we had fun.
Yes.
Yeah, Joel's a good guy. Did he give you a free Simba chain for life? That's the real question.
Yes.
I know he gave you a shirt, but did he give you Simba chain for life? That's
We're gonna earn it. We had so much fun.
awesome.
Awesome, guys. Well, hey, so we're gonna go ahead and we gotta announce the lock-on who gets the books, right, Rich?
Oh yeah. So during WalkOn, what we did is, Drew Hinkes wrote a book on like a seminal work. It's now a textbook. And so we worked with him to get some copies, and we got 10 copies that went to the first 10 people who signed up for the lock-on. And you have the list, don't you?
I do. Yep, I do. And okay. All right. Our lock-on book winners are Daniel Feldman, Basharullah Muhammad, Chris Land. Chris Land?
What?
Chris Land a book?
What?
He's going to eat the pages. He's not going to use it.
Appeal.
Appeal. Samuel Laffey, Joseph Chenchar, Jennifer Sum, Dennis Kahilane. I'm sure I pronounced that wrong. Sorry, Dennis. Robert Zelanka, Marlene Vume, and Mark Baker. Bam.
Awesome.
Congrats, guys. Except for Chris Land. He doesn't get excited.
He's going to be writing the next book.
Yeah, that's true.
I love
Chris
it.
Land, for those of you that don't know, Chris Land has written more blockchain law than any attorney in the country. Hands down, by far, bar none. Why? Because he's my LSO attorney, or he was. Now he's general counsel of the Division of Banking. He's this big schmuckety schmuck that doesn't call, he doesn't write anymore.
Yep. That's what happens when you keep progressing here with Wyoming. The stakes get bigger and bigger. The checks get bigger and bigger. So if you're not moving, you gotta be thinking.
I like that.
I know Albert Faulkner is now the most famous banking commissioner in the country, doing speaking tours of Europe. So
yeah. They went baller. They really did. I mean, Albert Faulkner has been. I mean, it's not like Wyoming just threw something up against the wall and saw if it stuck. I mean, there is a lot of intricacies in a lot of this legislation, and it took a huge group effort of people to get together. I guarantee you, they did not depend on a cowboy from Northeast Wyoming to put all this together. I promise you that.
You were the ringleader, though, Tyler.
I'm the sales guy. That's it.
You made it happen.
The brains on this deal was pretty impressive, guys. So, and we're going to keep moving down that road. So if you want to be part of this, if you want to be part of the future, I mean, you got to be thinking about Wyoming Hackathon. You have to be involved. You have to be engaged. Come here and win some damn money. We're just trying to give it away. And then number two, you need to move to Wyoming. That's got to happen. No corporate income tax, no personal income tax. And best of all, we just want to leave you the hell alone. So you need to get here, do it now. And with that, Rich, what else we got, brother?
Just celebration. She's got the wine. I don't know if she's passing it out.
Congratulations, everybody. Thanks for a fabulous event.
I am here.
We'll see you next year.
Rich, virtual happy hour. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank
Amazing
you,
job. Well done.
Tyler. Brittany, thank you so much for this.
We will see you all next year at the 4th annual Wyoming Blockchain Stampede.
300 grand to give away.
Or more.
Yeah, that's right. We'll see how blockchain does or how Bitcoin does over the next year. It could be considerable amounts more.
Exactly. So at least.
Right. Stay bullish out there, guys, and buy Bitcoin. Don't sell.
That might just take 3 Bitcoin to get us over the hump, huh?
That's right. All right, guys. I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. Everybody have a really good day. Appreciate all of your efforts.
Winners, thank you. You guys were wonderful to work with, man. And it went off without a hitch.
See y'all. See y'all next year.
Thank you guys so much. Have a good one.